Salute. Can y'all hear me out there? Let me know if y'all can hear me out there. Can y'all hear me? Let me know if y'all can hear me out there, man. Sad situation, man. Very sad situation. News to report on this morning, guys. Oh, man, it's crazy, man. Shout out to y'all. Can y'all hear me out there? Let me know if y'all can hear me. Absolutely. We can hear you. All right, bet, man. Yeah, man. Tragic situation coming out of Louisiana, guys, involving 8 little ones, you know, the mother as well as the father, man. So sick and disgusting. Heart is heavy, praying for the mother and family, y'all. Most definitely, prayers up, guys. Prayers most definitely up for the family, man. It shocked me when I heard this. I'm like, man, this is crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? But it is most definitely crazy, man. There is a lot going on in Louisiana. I don't think that they know the reason why he did what he did, but allegedly the father flipped out, guys, and basically took out, I think, 7 of his children. The last time I checked, one was still fighting for life, as well as his wife or baby's mother, man. Yeah, very sad situation, guys. Very sad. Very, very, very sad. Let's get into some of the details of what exactly it is that's going on, man. You know what I'm saying? We most definitely need a change in America. Lord have mercy. You know, from politics to home life, man. You know, it's a lot of crazies out here, man. It's a lot of crazies out here. Absolutely, man. Let's get into it, guys. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, you know. So most definitely, man, I'm lost for words on this one. This is crazy, y'all. Let's go.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. I'm Ryan Schmelz. I know we were going to get to that event with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the president of Argentina, but we do have now an update from the Shreveport, Louisiana Police Department on that mass shooting that led to 8 people so far being dead. We're going to go ahead and play that out for you right now. It's about a 7 to 8 minute long update from the police department. We do apologize ahead of time. The audio is not that great, but this is one of the first updates they gave us. So let's go ahead and listen into that.
Good morning. We're going to start. We're going to give some initial information what we have, and I want to start with, this is all preliminary information. This is a very large scene with 4 specific locations that we are currently addressing events from early this morning. This morning, officers responded to a shooting that occurred just after 6 a.m. In doing so, we determined that this was a domestic call in nature. The responding officers located a crime scene here in the 300 block of West 79th Street, and this is a rather extensive crime scene spanning between 2 residences here. There is also another residence on Harrison Street that is part of this crime scene as well.
I think there was like 4 parts of the crime scene, guys.
Right now, we have at least 10 individuals that were struck by gunfire last night.
He said at least 10 individuals that were struck by gunfire, guys. Yeah, the 8, the mother, and the father also. I think he was unalived by the police.
Domestic disturbance. 8 of these individuals are deceased. The ranges of the decedents are from 1 year of age to approximately 14 years of age. All of the deceased in this case are juveniles. The individual responsible, once leaving this scene, performed a carjacking right here in close proximity to the corner of West 79th and Linwood, at which point in time, Shreveport Police patrol officers got behind that vehicle and a chase ensued. The vehicle was chased into Bossier Parish, and at which point in time, Shreveport Police officers did discharge their firearm, and that individual is deceased. We do believe him to be the only individual that fired gunshots at these locations here. He is deceased, and Louisiana State Police will be taking over that portion in which the Shreveport police officers discharged their firearms. So we don't have any more information on the shooting that occurred in Bossier. What we can tell you is this is a domestic disturbance here in the 300 block of West 79th Street. This is a very large scene.
A domestic disturbance, guys. A domestic disturbance is what caused this.
multiple deceased children present. So we're going to ask for your patience in us getting information out. We will release the name of the suspect that is deceased when we have made the proper notifications. We do know that some of the children inside were his descendants, and so once we are sure of everyone's names and ages,
yes, the father is unalive as well.
and the proper channels have been notified, we'll be releasing all of that information. But we did want to come on and give what information we have available. So at this point in time, I'd like to bring the mayor, because I know he has some words, and he's been here since the early part of this investigation.
Thank you, Chris. Whenever we have a situation like this, the words of the poet John Gunn always come to mind. No man is an island unto himself. So therefore, never ask for well told results for thee. We have a hurting community. We have hurting families. We have hurting police officers, coroner's personnel, fire department, sheriff people, and this affects the entire community. So we all mourn with these families. It's a Sunday morning. I ask all of you who are listening, you might be able
This is the mayor speaking right now.
pray at your services this morning for not just this family, for all the victims, for the victims who are at the hospital, and for the Cedar Grove community, and for the community at large, as well as police officers, coroners, fire department, Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. This is a tragic situation, maybe the worst tragic situation we've ever had in Shreveport. And so right now, we're going to process the information. It is in very good hands, but it's a terrible morning in Shreveport, and we all mourn with the victims.
My heart goes out to this entire community for the tragic event that has taken place this morning. I just don't know what to say. My heart is just taken back. I just cannot begin to imagine how such an event can occur. I want to let the community know that all of my resources are out here processing every piece of evidence in every scene, and at some time in the near future, we'll be able to give some more conclusive information about exactly what took place. I want to thank the agencies that have reached out to me this morning and offered their assistance. Thank you so much to Caddo Parish Sheriff Department, the Louisiana State Police, Shreveport Fire Department, and all that have either come out to help or called and offered their assistance. But we're going to be working diligently, however long it takes, to get some answers to what is taking place.
As Chief Smith indicated, we will release more information when it's available. We will be working closely with the coroner's office, so look for some information, hopefully by tomorrow, on the information in regards to the 8 children. And just please keep this community and these officers in your thoughts and prayers, because as the mayor indicated, this is an extensive scene, unlike anything I know most of us have ever seen. So as soon as we have information, we have any questions on the investigation.
Chris, can you give the exact address of where this occurred, the shooting occurred?
Well, so you have 3 different scenes. The shooting itself occurred just down the road over here in the 300 block of West 79. There's also another shooting related to this on Harrison Street, and then there's an adjacent resident on West 79. But one of the victims ran to after the shooting. So it is an extensive scene. And once we have all of the information, we'll do the best we can to piece it together.
Chris, what time did all of this just start?
Early morning hours. The initial domestic dispute is somewhere in the 5 o'clock hour, I believe. But once I have a timeline, we'll detail that.
Have you ever seen anything like this in your years of working, Chris?
This is unlike anything I've ever.
Yeah, excuse the audio a little bit when it comes to this one right here. This was the initial report that they gave, so they was in a rush, and the audio is kind of bad. But if you focus in and listen, you can hear everything they saying. Can remember to double tap that screen.
I'd like anything to
I know you said you can't release the name of the suspect yet, but can you give an age? Was he a juvenile? Was he an adult?
No, the suspect is an adult. We'll get that information out. Hopefully, approximately.
And you said it happened at multiple locations. Gunfire happened at multiple locations?
Yes, that is true.
How many locations exactly?
So, Harrison Street address, we know there's a shooting there. There's multiple deceased persons here in the 300 block of West 79. And then the shooting that occurred in Bossier. So we have several crime scenes. And I really want to thank Louisiana State Police and Bossier and
Thank you, Ken.
Sheriff's Office. This type of scene requires a lot of resources, requires a lot of officers who want to ensure this is thoroughly investigated, and we can do the best we can to try to understand this. I don't know if we understand but the best we can to explain it and get whatever closure we can get to the families involved.
And you sure they're all connected, all the scenes?
Yes, absolutely. These things are undoubtedly connected. Right now, there is no public safety threat. There's no this violence, and that individual is deceased.
Are you able to share a motive at this time?
You just know it's domestic. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes that press conference there. And as you heard, the audio was a little hard to hear. So some of the updates that we got there from the police department there in Shreveport,
7 of the kids
Louisiana,
was his.
was a
Thank you.
shooting that had several different locations. It happened around this morning when officers responded to a shooting that occurred just after 6 a.m. It was determined that this was a domestic situation in nature. It was an extensive crime scene spanning between two residences. The third residence on Harris Street there in Shreveport, Louisiana, was also a part of that crime scene. At least 10 people as of right now
10
shot.
people, guys.
8 of them
being
are
kids.
deceased. The
Wow.
age ranges are from 1 year
To 14.
about 14 years old. All the deceased in this situation are juveniles, as the police department just pointed out there. The person who is suspected in this, believed to be responsible, while leaving a residence, performed a carjacking near the West 79th Street in Linwood. The Shreveport patrol officers got behind the vehicle, chased it into another house, it looks like, at which point the officers started shooting, and the suspect is now dead. As he pointed out there's no longer an active crime threat or an active threat to the situation. The suspect is dead. The accused shooter in this situation is believed to be, he was the only individual who was firing gunshots at those locations that police were eventually called to. Louisiana State Police are now taking over this investigation, and the officers involved were involved in the shooting situation. This is a domestic disturbance. I'm going off the notes we have here. A very large scene, multiple deceased children involved here, aging between 1 year of age to about 14 years old. And they will release the names of the suspects after proper notifications are made. Some of the children who were inside, as the officers just pointed out there, were believed to be the descendants of the alleged shooter. So a very tragic situation, very disturbing situation happening there in Louisiana.
And he uncomfortable talking about it. It would make me uncomfortable to talk about it as well. But there's more, man. There's more when it comes to this story. More details are most definitely coming out. Let's go. Hold on. Let's go here.
Now to Shreveport, Louisiana, where there's a massive investigation after a mass shooting that left 8 children dead, and police are calling it a domestic violence attack and say the shootings took place at multiple locations there. And officers have identified the gunman as a guy right here on your screen, Shamar Elkins. Officers say that he was the father of 7 of those victims. Jen Sullivan is following this case and has more.
A horrific tragedy rocking the community of Shreveport, Louisiana. A series of shootings Sunday leaving 8 children dead.
My heart is saddened.
The victims killed range in age from 1 to 14, according to police. Investigators say the shooter is related to at least some of the victims, are calling this a domestic violence attack.
7 of the 8 children that were killed, we do believe to be his children.
Police say the shooting rampage began just after 6 a.m. Sunday. Victims were found in 3 homes. The suspect carjacked a vehicle and led police on a chase.
It rattles the entire city. This is something that, when something like this, it affects us all.
The shooter was killed in a shootout with police.
This is nothing but pure evil. Over 30% of our crimes and 30% of our murders in the city of Shreveport are domestic in relation. Now that number has gone up.
There have been at least 114 mass shootings in the United States so far this year, according to the Gun Violence Archive, and this marks the deadliest shooting in 2 years.
Wow.
U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson, who represents the Shreveport area, released a statement saying, quote, "We're holding the victims, their families and loved ones, and our Shreveport community close in our thoughts and prayers during this incredibly difficult time." I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Well, police have not identified the victims just yet. 3 other people were wounded in that attack, 2 women and a teenager.
Man, y'all, sad situation, man. Sad situations. Prayers for all of the families involved, guys. This is one of the craziest stories that I've had to report on, guys. But wait, there's most definitely more when it comes to this entire situation. Hold on.
Maybe the worst tragic situation we've ever had in Shreveport. And
8 children dead, killed in a Sunday morning mass shooting in Shreveport. Meanwhile, 2 women and a child also shot in the head, now fighting to survive. The suspect steals a car,
shot him in the head, guys.
The river.
It all ended with the suspect dead after gunfire in a Bossier City neighborhood.
Live and on your side.
Wow,
this
guys.
Is KTBS 3 News Weekend.
Good evening to you, Arklatex. Welcome to KTBS 3 News Weekend. I'm Madison Edwards.
I'm Daniel Brown. Thank you for joining us. That tragedy in Shreveport's Cedar Grove neighborhood tops our news this evening.
We've got team coverage tonight. Our Riley Curry standing by from the crime scene with the latest on what happened. Meanwhile, Jonathan McCall is standing by to tell us how the situation ended in Bossier Parish. And Brenda Teal will join us with reactions from neighbors in the Cedar Grove community. The incident already drawing international attention, and we've been working all day to keep you up to date with the latest information. Our team coverage begins in Cedar Grove.
Riley Curry has been on the story. She joins us live from the house where the young victims were found on the 300 block near West 79th Street near Linwood Avenue. Riley, what can you tell us?
Well, today is definitely a tragic day in Shreveport. This morning around 6 a.m., Shreveport police found 7 children dead inside of the gray home behind me. And on the roof, they found another child dead. And all 8 juveniles were shot and killed, spanning from ages 18 months to 14 years old. Police say most of these children were shot in the head. Another child was in the home, and he did escape the gunfire. But
man, Daddy had to be suffering from some kind of mental illness, guys. Saying that he shot everybody in the head, guys. The mother is clinging to life. One of the kids is still clinging to life, but he most definitely popped everybody in the head, my guys. Oh my God. Oh yeah, oh my God, man. Because the only thing I can think of is mental health. You know, some most definitely wasn't right in his head. That's something wrong.
he is being treated at a local hospital.
I just don't know what to say. My heart is just taken back. I want to let the community know that all of my resources are out here processing every piece of evidence at every scene, and at some time in the near future, we'll be able to give some more conclusive information about exactly what took place.
Shout out to Rika for being a member for the last 19 months.
An adult woman was in the home at the time, and she was shot, but escaped to the house next door. While she was in there, she did call Shreveport police. In connection, another adult woman was in a different location in the same neighborhood on Harrison Street. She was shot in the face and is still in critical condition. She is believed to be the mother of some of the victims. A man who claims to be her father, All
right, so Ms. Sharon says that reports are coming in that says she was planning to leave him for cheating, and he lost it. Wow. That's demons, not mental health. Yeah, something was wrong, Ken. That's all I'm saying. Something wrong in the same neighborhood. Lord, how amazingly. See, y'all, new pieces of information. I did not know that. So, allegedly the wife was getting ready to leave him, or the girlfriend, she was getting ready to leave him because he'd been cheating, and he couldn't take it and did what he did.
Mays was at the scene.
Shout out to Rika for that 5
morning.
I was just with my grandbabies the other day.
This must be the grandpa.
Was having so much.
This must be the grandpa. He said he was just with his grandbabies the other day, and then it says victim relatives. So whether this is the lady's father or the dude's father, this is the grandfather right here speaking.
At the scene this morning.
I was just with my grandbabies the other day, and we was having so much fun. And I say for any grandparent out there, be happy. Be happy with your grandkids and have fun with them. I'm just praying that everything will be all right for my daughter. She's in the hospital right now. She's
all right, so he's the daughter. Okay, so he's the father of the woman that was basically shot in the head. The girlfriend or the wife to the man. She was the one that was gonna leave. So this is her father.
Hospital right now. She's fighting.
In total, there are 11 victims. Again, 8 dead and 3 living. The suspect is also dead. He was shot and killed in Bossier by Shreveport police after he fled the scene in a stolen car. SPD believes multiple firearms were used in the crime. Justin, SPD has confirmed that the shooter is named Shamar Elkins. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you more coverage as we learn more. Reporting in Shreveport, I'm Riley Curry, KTBS 3 News.
Thank you, Riley, for that report. We know you've been working all morning on this devastating story.
All right, so we heard from Grandpa. Grandpa got up there and spoke, basically on the condition of his daughter. Said she's still in the hospital fighting, basically for her life. All right, so then they went and they identified the little ones, guys. Prayers up. But here go the names of the fatalities, guys.
Breaking news, our nation saw its deadliest mass shooting in years when a Louisiana man shot and killed 8 children this morning. Tonight, we're learning more about that gunman, Shamar Elkins, who was the father of 7 of those 8 slain children. Tonight, the community of Shreveport has been left shattered. The children, 3 boys and 5 girls, ranging in age from 3 to 11.
Police say the crime scene spans 2 houses. It ended when officers opened fire on the gunman during a police chase. Eyewitness News reporter Tim Pulliam is live now with new details tonight. Tim?
Liz Jory, we now know the names of the 8 kids shot and killed, and we're also learning that the shooter had ties to the military and was known to police. This is a Facebook image of the Louisiana man.
All right, so he had military ties. We find out. What if it was PTSD? You know what I'm saying, or something that veterans suffer? I don't know if that's what he had. I'm just saying something was not right in his head for him to do what he did. That reports say that the girlfriend or the wife, his girlfriend or wife, was planning to leave him because he had been cheating, and he basically lost it and tried to unalive everybody. Wound up taking out 8 of his own little ones, 7 of his own little ones, and basically popped her too.
Blooded killer. Shreveport police identifying him as Shamari Elkins, the alleged gunman who shot and killed 8 kids. At least 7 of them were his own flesh and blood. The coroner released their names. A total of 7 siblings and a cousin ranging in age from 3 to 11. Jayla, Shayla, Kayla, Layla, Markaden, Soraya, Kedarian, and Braylon. Neighbors mourn their deaths at the
wow, guys.
This is not
prayers for all of them.
Joke. This is real, and this is the result when someone snaps.
Police are still trying to determine what motivated the shooting. The attack began before sunrise when police say the suspect shot a woman at one home and then drove to another house to unleash more violence.
The gray house is the house in which
7 children were located inside that were deceased. There was an additional deceased child that looked like he had tried to escape the residence out the back on the roof.
Officers say a second woman was shot and is believed to be the mother of the suspect's children. Both women are now in the hospital in critical condition. Officers fired at the suspect during a chase after he carjacked the vehicle at gunpoint. ABC News reporting the 31-year-old joined the Louisiana National Guard in 2013 and served 7 years without being deployed. The shooting took place in House Speaker Mike Johnson's district. He offered thoughts and prayers to the family.
Okay, so he never really just got active. You know, he was never deployed. So I guess they'll take the PTSD off the table. Crime of passion.
People beyond Louisiana. The mayor of Shreveport highlighting that in his statement that reads in part, "Tragedy like this does not belong to one family alone. It belongs to all of us. Today, our community is grieving the unimaginable loss of innocent children. There are no words that can make sense of it and no distance that shields us from it."
Take out this evil out of our nation, out of our parish, out of our city, out of our lives, God. We know mental illness is real, God.
This attack considered one of the deadliest mass shootings in Louisiana. The community asking for prayers.
This community needs you. I need you. Because how do we get through this?
According to the FBI, domestic violence crimes are up. Between 2020 and 2024, law enforcement reported more than 11,000 domestic violence murder victims. In this case, investigators are still trying to figure out what led up to this shooting. Tim Pulliam, ABC7, Eyewitness News.
Tim, thank you. If you or someone you know needs help in regards to
It was 4 crime locations. Mother's Keeper. It was 4 places.
Or text the word START to 88788. Help is available 24/7 and in multiple languages.
Yeah, it happened in 4 places. So I don't know if it was the ex's house or who house it was, but there were 4 different locations.
It affects the Cedar Grove community. It affects our entire city to have something like this occur. It's not a time to point fingers or try to blame anyone. The blame is on the person that did it. But I do want to use this opportunity to speak for this community, many of whom were out here today and just grief-stricken by this whole situation.
Tragedy in Louisiana. 8 children were shot and killed, others left wounded in the nation's deadliest shooting in more than 2 years. The scene of the unthinkable crime being described as unlike anything most of the police force had ever seen. The victims of the shooting ranging in age from just 1 to 12 years old. 7 of the children were related to the suspected gunman, who is now identified as Shamar Elkins. The New York Post reporting that he shared a picture of him with his kids at church on Facebook just 2 weeks prior.
Man, this is crazy, guys. This is the family right here, him and all the kids. Wow.
Over Easter. For more, we are joined by Taylor Smith from our News Nation affiliate in Louisiana. Taylor, what's the latest?
That's right. Good evening. Its devastation has absolutely rocked this community. As you can see, this is the aftermath. The tape has gone down. Investigators, police have now gone home, but there is still much heartbreak felt in this area. From what we see right now, people have been bringing in flowers and balloons to pay their respects to the victims. Police say they have now identified the gunman as Shamar Elkin, and they say that this tragedy appeared to have unfolded inside of the family home. They say that 8 children were killed, 7 of them believed to be Elkin's own. Investigators say many of the victims appear to have been asleep when the shooting began early Sunday morning. They say that 7 victims were found inside of the residence, while an 8th child was discovered outside near the back of the home on the roof, suffering a gunshot wound to the head. Officers say that the first call for help came just before 5 a.m. and throughout the morning, investigators were seen blocking off the neighborhood while officers and detectives worked through what police are describing as a very large and complex crime scene. They say that the children's ages range from 1 to 14, very young. 2 adult women were also shot multiple times and remain in critical condition in the hospital. They say that one of those victims is believed to be the suspect's wife, and while the relationship between the suspect
and everybody was asleep when this took place, guys. So that means the wife was asleep and the little ones was asleep when he started doing what he did.
suspect and the second woman have not yet been confirmed. They are working to get that information. For what now, we know that police say the suspect fled the scene in a stolen vehicle, leading officers on a pursuit into Bossier Parish. And during that pursuit, officers discharged their weapons, and the suspect was ultimately fatally shot. They say that this shooting spanned multiple areas from the home, and at one point, people inside attempted to escape by climbing onto the roof. Authorities say that the names of the victims have not yet been released at this time, and they're still waiting to notify the families. They also say that they are working to process evidence, and they are working to piece together what took place and what led up to this devastating crime. We will continue to keep you updated. Investigators are saying that police believe that Elkins was the only person who fired shots. At this point, the motive does remain still unclear. We will continue to keep you updated. For now, reporting live in Shreveport, Taylor Smith, back to you.
Yeah, Taylor in Shreveport, Louisiana tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below. And
crazy, y'all. And I mean, it is so many networks that are covering this entire situation, guys. Local leaders held a press conference where they spoke on the situation as well. You know, let's go take a look at what they had to say, guys.
All right, thank you. We'd just like to say good afternoon to everybody. And
oh, that's why the little one was on the roof. Okay, she says the kids tried to run out the back door. The 13-year-old tried to jump off the roof. I could not imagine. Man, it was I bet you it was a chaotic situation, you know, and they were just trying to get away. You know, by any means necessary, jumping off the roof, climbing through a window, shooting out the back door, whichever one, you know, to try to escape what was going on, man. But it was unescapable, man. Such a tragic event. Sad, guys. Most definitely sad. Thank God. Okay. All right. Yeah, man. It's crazy, y'all. It is crazy, man. Prayers for all involved, guys. Prayers for all involved.
This tragedy. We ask that our entire city, our nation, our community would pray. This is something that will take your breath away, that will take the wind out of your sail. And so I communicated with the Spirit of the Lord before I got here as to what is it that I can say when you really don't know what to say, when words, whatever you say, may not make sense. So, in going to God, I brought this that says, God, grant us the serenity.
And at a time like this, most definitely need prayer, guys. Most definitely sad, man. This is terrible.
To accept the things that we cannot change the things that we can, and the wisdom that we can make a difference. And then I wanted to get a scripture that possibly may not make sense, but if you trust God, it will. He says in Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for the good to those who love God, those who are called according to his purpose. All I can tell you today is my heart is saddened. It has brought me to my knees, and of course that's a great place to be, because then we can communicate with God. Some kind of way, some way and somehow, this is going to work out for the good. If no more than bringing the community together to be able to go around and touch the bloody and the dusty. People that feel like there's no hope. People that feel like that the only hope that I can have is to take my life and take 8 or 9 others. So I ask that you would be prayerful, that God would bring us together. This could be the one thing that would bring this city, our neighborhoods, our country together, that we will have one voice with one people to know that you can make a difference. It's just saying a kind word to one another. Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But the Lord has said, I come to bring life, and I come to bring the abundant life. And I just like to say to everybody today, keep the faith and keep hope. Because if we come together, right now in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, we will make a difference. So I just like to say at this particular time, Lord, we ask that you would come in our midst. Search our hearts, souls, and minds, be accepted in our sight. Lord, we ask that you would lift those up that's connected. We ask that you would lift those up that's not connected. And let us all know that we come from one blood, and it is in the name of Jesus. Lord, touch the hearts of the families all over this city. Lord, we just ask that you touch them and let them know that you can and you will take care. Be not dismayed, whatever betide. If you put your trust in the Lord, he will take care. The only words I have for you today is the words coming from the word of God, where he says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not unto our own understanding.
Usually I stray away from the prayers and all that, but man, this is such a sad situation, man. It deserves it, guys. You gotta have a good word at a time like this, man. This is a hard story to report on, man. 8 little ones unalive, wife on life support. This is tragic, guys.
And in all our ways,
Father unalive as well, and he was the one that
direct our path. And today, we are leaning on Jesus. We are trusting that some good, some way, somehow will come out of this situation. Sometimes in life, we wonder, why does bad things happen to good people? We don't know, but we'll understand it better by and by. My last words would be, Asaph says in Psalm 73, he says, truly God is good. God is good to Israel. He's good to anybody as of a clean heart. But Asaph was going through something like this in his life. He says, but as for me, when I saw the prosperity of the wicked, when I saw how wicked people were thriving and they were doing this, that, and the other, he said, my feet almost slipped.
I remember that.
But he didn't stop there. If you keep on reading down about the 17th verse, he says, until I went into the sanctuary of the Lord, then I saw their end, that they are in slippery places. So that brings me to this. The only hope that we have is in the Lord. Sometimes we look for this and we look for that, but our hope is in the Lord. And I'd just like for us to leave here knowing that God will take care. At this particular time, we have Councilwoman Taylor here, Councilman Butcher. We're going to ask that our chairwoman would have a word. We're going to have prayer. And thank you all so much. And keep this family lifted up. Councilwoman Taylor.
We're standing in this place again. There are 8 children that are deceased. I can't be strong for you. I think about the mother and what this family has lost. I think about this community and what this community has lost. And I don't have the words to give you, and I'm sorry. I don't know what people think in the crevices of their mind to want to harm another human being, let alone that of children who have their whole life ahead of them. From what I've learned about this incident is that it's domestic in nature, that makes it even more horrific for all the fighting that we do as it relates to this. And maybe you can stand strong with this, but I can't. without shedding tears of traumatic pain. I pain and I grieve for this family. I grieve for the lives that are lost, and I'm asking you to please utilize every resource that the sheriff has brought forth now when you know that these situations occur. We cannot be and make this a joke. This is not
Thank
a
you for the
freaking
gift.
joke. This is real, and this is the result when someone snaps. So I'm gonna ask the community, along with prayer, with every mental health consultant, counselor that is out here, this family and this community needs you. I need you. Because how do we get through this? How do we get
Hey,
to
flip
the
mode.
next level? It is real and this is raw. And these are the tragedies when there are domestic violence or domestic disturbances in our community.
And also, as the chairman of our public safety committee is coming, Councilman Grayson Butcher, there was another situation that happened like this. I don't know whether it was morning or whether it was evening, but it happened at a brother by the name of Job. All his children were gathered, and a storm came, trouble came, and it killed all of them. And Job got to a point in his life that he says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. And so though we have this situation today, I just want you to leave here saying, trust God. At this time, Councilman Butcher will come.
Thank you, Reverend Green. You know, I've struggled all morning since I woke up with how to address this, and I really don't have any prepared words. I will echo what Chairwoman Taylor said about domestic violence. Over 30% of our crimes and 30% of our murders in the city of Shreveport are domestic in relation. Now that number has gone up. We've more than doubled our homicides in the city of Shreveport because of one act of domestic violence. We as a community, black, white, Republican, Democrat, need to stand together and fight for what is right. This is nothing but pure evil. We can have 100 new police cars. We can have a brand new, beautiful, multi-million-dollar police substation right up the road. But until we stop this violence, the cycle of violence, like I've said over and over again, we're going to still be standing here, and it's only going to get worse. Our children today are bombarded with horrible scenes like this, but better, I mean, more than that, they're also bombarded with video games that are violent, movies that are violent, you name it, they're seeing it. And this is what the result of that is. Believe me, it's evilness in our community. So what I ask for all the citizens to do is pray for this family, pray for our city, pray for our country. Our country is riddled with evil right now. And we need to pray and pray very, very hard. The other thing, as a more than 20-year veteran, public servant, firefighter, please pray for these firefighters, police officers, and even the coroner's office, the public safety communicators that took the call on this. I'm going to tell you, I'm here to tell you that the burden on them is real. They will carry this for the rest of their life. Just put yourself in their situation. A young police officer, a young firefighter has to walk in and see 8 babies murdered. How does he go home and hold his own children? Think about that. We've got to stop the violence. We've got to take the politics out of crime, and we've got to all stand together like we are today. So, Councilman Green, thank you. I'm praying for your district, and I'm praying for the city of Shreveport. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to have Pastor Tony Hunter to come with the word of prayer.
Let us pray. Our Father, the Father of our Lord and Savior, Jesus the Christ. The Lord, we come with heavy hearts, with tears in our eyes, to lift up this family, the victim, the perpetrators. God, we know that you have all authority of heaven and earth is in your hand. Your word says there is nothing too hard for you. We lift up these children, their soul, their classmates, Atkins, Linwood, Captain Shreve, Woodlawn, God. We lift up their siblings, God, in the name of Jesus, God. God, your word says to cast all of our cares upon you. God, we know we can't see you, we can't trace you, but God, we can trust you. We can trust you with our lives. We can trust you with our safety, God. Move, deliver, and set free. Take out this evil out of our nation, out of our parish, out of our city, out of our lives, God. We know mental illness is real, God. God, we pray for counseling. We pray for the leadership of the Holy Spirit, God. Move all over this nation. Bless them and keep them. And we'll give your name the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
At this
It's
time,
most
we're gonna
definitely
ask
needed,
our
guys.
Senator Sam Jenkins. He's here with us. We're going to ask him to come and have words of expression.
Absolutely, man. Just evil of all colors.
Thank you, Councilman Green. First, let me.
It's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's not a Hispanic thing. It's not any of that, guys. It's crazy people of all races, man. You know, out there, man. Yeah, man. So many evil monsters in this world. Absolutely, my guy. It's a universal problem, not just a color problem.
Express condolences to the families that are involved with this. I want to lift up this community, this neighborhood. This is a tragic event that is taking place in the City Grove community. It's affecting not only this immediate community, but our city and our state as a whole.
Hey, Bunny, how you doing?
I just received a call from Governor Landry expressing his concern and expressing his condolences. This has went statewide very, very rapidly, and people are very, very saddened by what they're hearing occurring here. I would simply say, let's make sure that that our concern does not end here today. This neighborhood, this community, the schools, this family is going to need our support for days to come. There's a lot that will need to be done. And so I stand with you, Councilman Green, here in your district, and with all of the other elected officials that are here, the community leaders that are here. I've been here since early this morning, and it's just been a lot of concern from the community. I want to express appreciation to our law enforcement community, the resources that they brought here today. But let's just make certain that we don't leave here today and think all has been done. I will finally say this, and I'm on record saying it, and you've heard some mention of it from the other officials here today. Domestic violence is real. We need to make certain that resources are going to be put in.
Thank you, Keeper, for that 5. I most definitely appreciate it, man. You know, yeah, man, just bringing some awareness to people, man, of some of the things that be going on across the world, man. It's a lot going on, guys. It's a lot going on. This one right here. This one right here is truly devastating, man. You know what I'm saying? I can only imagine, you know, the horror that those babies was going through, you know, when their daddy lost his mind. You might, because I'm gonna just say he lost his mind. Yeah, because normal people don't do this.
Place, hopefully to prevent another incident like we witnessed here today. If we have someone with a history of domestic violence, let's make sure that those resources, that intervention is there on a continuous and consistent basis, hopefully to avoid what we've seen here today.
Thank you, Maddie.
I just want to say to
I know it is, but let me say this too. It is, though it's very sad, because it is very sad. And thank you for that 5, Maddie. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Lars, everywhere for that 5 as well. Though it is a tragic situation to cover, a lot of people, you know, don't want to watch it or would rather not hear about it, man. You got to know that it's evil things going on, man. You know what I'm saying? If you turn a blind eye to it, you'll never know that it's happening, you know, because you feel like it's too traumatic to watch or pay attention to. Man, you got to pay attention to everything, you know. It's crazy people out here, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's unstable people out here for real.
Concern and the care and the genuine concern and care that have been expressed here by the leadership of this city and we're going to be here for you and do what we can to assist in the days that lie ahead. I give it back to Councilman Green at this time.
Also, at this time next, we're going to have our state representative, Tammy Feltz, to come. Also would like to announce that on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, we will have a prayer vigil here. And all the people that's concerned, we ask that you would make your way here. We're going to pray, and we're going to trust God that he's going to work it out.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you all for being here today as well. And Cedar Grove is home for me, just a few blocks away. Thank you all to the mental health providers that came today, the other community leaders. And I just want to piggyback a little bit off of the services that Councilman Green and Senator Jenkins has mentioned. If we could, Councilman Green, whatever support we could give of correlating and collaborating with all of the mental health services that we have in our community, in our city, just don't stand by, and whatever we can do for the community moving forward to let them know that we're still here, as you stated, but from all of our offices, as we move forward, as we mentioned, the kids that are here, the families, there's a father still here in the community. I can't even imagine what the police officers, first responders actually dealt with when they got.
We ain't doing that 1966. You know what I'm saying? We ain't doing that. Let's get him in time out. He needs time to think about whatever that is, and it looked like some kind of racist symbol. Matter of fact, go ahead and block him. 1966. Let's get him right up out of here.
Here today. To hear children escaping out of the back door. And as we often forget what they go through mentally as well. Please let's not forget them as we, in our prayers, and we talk about what they carry home, as Councilman Butcher mentioned. From our fire department and police department, I thank them so very much from the bottom of our heart. They do an outstanding job every day. But today, as they pursued the suspect, I thank the chief and his the officers for how they responded so quickly to this community and in our city, as they do always. But again, all of the services that we can continue to offer, I know I by myself and all of us here, whatever we can do to keep those services alive, and the education of what those signs look like as our new generation and adults see these signs, and how we can help them and their parents and families just identify them, where we can help try to alleviate this type of situation again. Thank you so much, Councilman Green, for being here.
Next, we're going to have Commissioner Carthon to come, and after which, for Representative Cleo Field's office, we're going to have Quentin to come.
And by what I see in this chat, even with this tragic situation, man, you see that there's people out there that really have mental health issues, man. You know, Teddy, what do you mean? What? A mass shooting in the USA? Imagine actually being an American. I'm an American, man. You know, and this is tragic, man. Not a joking matter at all. Like, that's how you know people ain't sane. You see what I'm saying, Miss T? Miss T, you see? It's crazy people out here. This is a tragic situation, and they down there talking about stuff that don't even matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, people. Wake up, man. Wake up, people.
Thank you, Pastor Green. As I stand here today, I had no idea that I would be standing here. My condolences goes, first of all, to the entire family of Cedar Grove, of which I grew up in, just right down the street on 79. As I stood here and talked with many members here, I found out who the relatives were, of who I grew up with, I've known for years. But the most important thing is, previously stated, we have to do something different. We cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results.
I believe it, Maddie. I believe it.
The violence unit is not in place. I don't know if this could have stopped it or not, but that's neither here nor there. The point being is that we must put something in place, and I'm glad that we're standing here united. And we have to do more than just talk about it. We got to be about it. And I'm going to ask anybody under the sound of my voice, any information, anything that you might be able to share so we can prevent something like this from occurring again, please give me a call. Please call the Caddo Commission Office. Please call the city, the state, the representatives, the senators, whomever you might know. Get in contact with us so we could put something together to possibly prevent this from happening again. Thank everyone that's listening. I've received calls all the way from San Francisco already today. So we all know that this is spreading very rapidly, but the most important thing we have to remember, how do we possibly prevent this from happening again? Again, in closing, I would like to say to the family, you have my condolences, you have my prayers, and I will be available to assist you in any kind of way.
Good afternoon. My name is Quentin Ott. I represent Congressman Cleo Fields as congressional liaison. Congressman Cleo Fields, he sends his deepest condolences to the family. Also wants to thank the SPD and the fire department for their rapid response. I think the biggest thing about this is how is Shreveport going to respond to this situation? Not from an elected official standpoint, from a community standpoint, from a school standpoint, from a home standpoint. We have to take our city back at all standpoints. And so the congressman, he wants to see our city move forward. Our elected officials want to see our city move forward. We need our community to want our city to move forward. So thank you to everyone that's been a part of this and trying to make the situation better at hand, from our mental health response, from our community advocates. So thank you again. And Congressman Cleo Fields sends his deepest condolences to the family.
And so we close out on tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We will have a press conference at Government Plaza. And we ask again that on Wednesday at 6 o'clock that you would come. It doesn't matter who you are. If you care about people, if you have the love of God in your heart, let's join hands. And always remember John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. I'd just like to say, we got to love one another. We got to put love in our heart. You love me, and I love you. May God bless you. And we'd like to thank our partners in news. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'd like to thank our liaison person from the City Council office, Dr. Ralph Johnson, who has been here since early. And thank all of you. And may God bless you. And may God bless Shreveport. And may God bless America. Thank you so much.
Sad, y'all. Sad situation, man. Sad situation, guys. 8 lives lost in Louisiana, guys. Man. Go a little bit from the community, guys.
Comes together to honor the victims of a deadly mass shooting. More than 30 people gathered yesterday to mourn 8 children who were shot and killed in the city earlier in the day. 7 of those children belong to the man police say pulled the trigger. Standing by at the Fox 5 Live desk, who's Good Day's Alex Whitler. And Alex, shocking doesn't even describe it.
You got that right, Elise. This tragedy has sent shockwaves across the nation. In fact, it's the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. since 8 people were killed in a Chicago suburb back in January of 2024. So here's what we know so far. The attack, which began before sunrise yesterday, stretched across 2 houses in that Shreveport neighborhood. Police say 31-year-old Shamar Elkins killed all of the children. They were 3 aged 11 years old, and they were all in the same home. The gunman's wife and mother of their children was also shot and critically wounded in that house. A second woman was shot at a different location. Police later shot and killed Elkins after a person.
So he shot his wife, and then he went to another residence and shot the woman as well. Could that have been the other lady? Yeah, man, it's crazy. That the wife was wife was finna leave him for cheating, I guess, with this other lady, and he popped her, all the kids, and then went to the other lady house and popped her too. Wow, Miss T. Wow. Oh yeah, he lost his mind.
Police later shot and killed Elkins after a pursuit. Now, we've learned the gunman had been arrested in a 2019 firearms case, and he'd served in the Louisiana Army National Guard from August 2013 to August 2020 as a signal support system specialist and a fire support specialist. He was just a private when he left the Army. So back at that vigil that was held yesterday, members of the community paid their respects to the victims with prayer and candles. Locals, including one attendee who knew one of the children, say they are shaken by this tragedy.
I'm a mama myself, and I'm a grandmother as well. And it just makes you take your children and hug them and hold them and tell them how much you love them. Because you just don't know.
Unfortunately, the tragedy bringing us together. I mean, I wish we could just come together without the tragedy.
Right. Well, detectives haven't determined the motivation behind the shooting, but they have described this as a domestic incident. Still, many unanswered questions here, though, that may never be answered. Elise.
All right. So that was, man. So he done unalived his wife and the other woman, guys, as well as his kids. Here goes some live footage from outside of the house.
The book of Torah, chapter 37, verse 12. But be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest and keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind.
This is outside of the family's home that you see all the people gathered. I think this is the house right here. I guess the initial house, the first place. But yeah, you see all the people gathered back there. You know what I'm saying? This is from a news report from a Louisiana news station.
All you gotta do is just take one step that way.
Okay. Hey, Cam, quick question. Can somebody let me know what the anchor intro is? So I mean, I can reiterate, but I just need to know what the anchor intro is. Tell him not to. Tell him it's not enough. Don't say all the information. Leave something for me to say.
God made us afraid people. Give me that Deuteronomy 28 about we can be low. Because what happens is we need to how are we going to make it good? What we need to do is try to find a solution.
What's up, K-Sip?
Once we find a solution, then we can make it good. Then we can be that great people who want to work.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. What happened to the black community? Thou shalt come down very low. What happened to us? Come down very low. Us killing each other is a low degree. We are morally low. Why? Because we left God's law. And when we get back to God's way, then we can raise our moral standards. We are here because we care for y'all. Give me Jeremiah 8 verse 21. We're in pain with y'all, believe it or not. And guess what? Because we're in pain with y'all, we're trying to find a solution with y'all. We want to make a difference. We're tired of funerals.
And Cam, I'll tell you to when to roll the video from earlier, okay?
Jeremiah, chapter 8, verse 21. For the hurt of the God of my people, for my hurt. For the hurt of the God of my people, I am hurt. I'm sympathizing with this family. This family, Shreveport, Louisiana, has to stay in our place. Shreveport, Louisiana, has to hear the word of God. Because we need pain. Read it again. For the hurt of the daughter of my people and my heart. We have to have sympathy. We have to sympathize within the black community.
This is outside of the home, guys.
It's my family. It's your family. It's your brothers. It's your sisters. We have to make a difference. Come on. I am black. But that's the thing about it. We have no self-esteem. We look at each other as figures. We look at each other as arms. But we have to come together and understand that we are the chosen people of God. And we must make a difference. Give me Nahum 3:1. I know that's all, bro. I know that's all, bro. But guess what?
Nice to meet you. Okay, yeah. Give me 1
I'm most definitely. Thank you, man. This is footage from outside the house, guys. This is the home where they stayed at. You see the gathering of people in the driveway.
Bubba, do you think? I think we're okay for right now. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hear the word of God.
Hey, KK. Houston in the house. It's been a minute since I seen you, KK. I'm glad to see you. You know what I'm saying? Much love to you, KK. We got KK cooking with KK Way in the house. She say Houston in the house. Hey, KK. Oh, KK. IGT, we got KK in the building. What's up, KK? Auntie Carolyn.
We have to. That's the only way we can stop black on black violence. It's system killing. There you go.
This is footage from outside the family home, guys, where this all took place.
We have to gather together under God's righteousness, under God's law. God's law tells us thou shalt not hurt. We always keep out on the path to that's why I'm making those decisions. But guess what? If we put God, if we apply God instead of thou shalt not kill. And we apply these simple things. Honor thy father.
I think she said something.
Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. Simple law.
Sound like she whispered. Audio bad.
Own biological children. Now, we want to report that it was a 9th child who managed to escape to the
Hold
top
on, we got
of the
some
roof.
details.
Children, 8 of the children.
They fixed the audio. Hold up. They have fixed the audio. Hold on. Okay, I guess we ready right there. Hold on, y'all.
8 of the children that the suspect that is supposed to be related to the children, 8 of the children, is Shamar Elkins. Now, we can confirm that Shreveport police told us that it was 9 children in the house right here at 355 79th Street. Now, 8 of those children were killed inside of the house. 7 of the 8 were Shamar Elkins' own biological children. Now, we want to report that it was a 9th child who managed to escape to the top of the roof of this house right here at 355 West 79th Street and jumped off of the roof in order to escape Elkins. Now, that child is in the hospital with broken bones, but Shreveport police told us that the child will be okay. We're unsure if that is a girl or a boy. Now, 2 women also were shot by Elkins. One is at around the corner. And we also spoke with multiple mental health professionals this morning to talk about Sunday morning's tragedy.
It's crazy, y'all. Yeah, man. Most definitely a tragic, extra tragic situation, man. As we find out those shocking details on what exactly happened, man. One of them tried to escape off the roof, man. Off the roof. This is crazy.
We have team coverage for you this morning on the fallout from that. Joining us now live is Shannon Brinius with more from Cedar Grove neighborhood and the latest on what happened and what happens next. Shannon.
Nate, just 2 days ago, a neighbor tells us that this house was the scene of domestic tranquility. Shamar Elkins sitting out on his porch with his kids playing in the yard. But then just less than 24 hours later, this would become the scene of a devastating domestic violence attack. 8 children's bodies were found, 7 siblings and a cousin shot to death. 2 women were shot and gravely wounded, all at the hands of someone they trusted, that they loved, Shamar Elkins. We get more from Riley Curry.
Man, he tripped out.
We have a hurting community. We have hurting families. This is a tragic situation, maybe the worst tragic situation we've ever had.
I don't know,
in Shreveport.
Around 6 a.m.,
How you
Shreveport
doing, Ms.
police
Rucker?
arrived to a home on the 300th block of West 79th Street near Linwood Ave. Inside and outside the home, 8 young children between the ages of 3 years old to 11 years old were found dead, many with gunshot wounds to the head. 2 victims who were also in the home survived the attack, an adult woman who was shot, and a 13-year-old who now has broken limbs from jumping out of a window. Some Shreveport police officers say they've never seen a...
The little one that jumped out the window, I'm guessing off the roof, broke their leg. You know what I'm saying? So one was able to get away, but suffered broken legs. I guess, you know, they can repair that. They wouldn't be able to bring the life back, but they can repair that. So one made it out. The rest were unalive, guys. Sad situation, man. But they saying that the one that jumped out, the little one that jumped out the roof, broke their leg
from jumping out of a window. Some Shreveport police officers say they've never seen a crime scene so brutal.
I just don't know what to say. My heart is just taken back. I want to let the community know that all of my resources are out here processing every piece of evidence.
This is a extensive scene, unlike anything I know most of us have ever seen in our careers.
The identified shooter is Shamar Elkins. 8 of the kids he murdered were his own. Across Linwood Ave on Harrison Street, Elkins also shot another adult woman in the face. She is now in critical condition and is believed to be the mother of some of the children. A man.
So the mother of the children is in critical condition. She was also shot in the face.
And said to be her father, Below Mays, was at the scene this morning.
I would guess with my grandbabies the other day, and we was having so much fun. And I say for any grandparent out there, be happy. Be happy with your grandkids and have fun with them. I'm just praying that everything will be all right for my daughter. She's in the hospital right now. She's fighting.
After the shootings, Elkins stole a vehicle, fled to Bossier, and was later shot there by Shreveport police.
Sad, y'all.
And new information that we've learned in the overnight hours is that Shamar and Shaniqua Elkins were due in court today. They were trying to obtain a divorce.
Whoop,
and maybe that's what sparked this.
The motive. Just like y'all said, she was finna leave him. Evidently they must have been out. Well, no, they couldn't because they were living in the same house, but they were supposed to show up for court. They were getting a divorce. It was about to be over with. Yeah, he lost his mind, you know, basically with knowing that he was finna lose his family, I guess, in so many words, whether it was decisions of his own by his actions or whatever, but he couldn't take it and flipped out as they were headed to divorce court tomorrow. Wow.
Violent rampage. We'll have more on our air here on KTBS,
which is today,
as well as on KPXJ and on KTBS Plus throughout the day. Make sure you check
for
instant updates anytime by going to the web.
We appreciate you joining us on this Monday morning. For First News, I'm Nate Fluharty. We do kick things off this morning with more reaction following the tragedy around the Arklatex. And team coverage for you this morning. We do kick things off with Shannon Brinius, who's live in the Cedar Grove neighborhood with more on what the community is saying following that tragedy there. Shannon?
Well, Nate, the reports came in as a cascade of reports. You have the report of a gunshot and shooting here at this house here in Cedar Grove. Then moments later, reports of a carjacking very nearby, and the grim discovery of the bodies of 8 children in and around this home between the ages of 3 and 11, 7 siblings and a cousin. And meanwhile, they were dead at the hands of someone they loved.
7 siblings and a cousin. So the cousin was also at the house. So you got all of his kids plus 1 cousin. Wow, guys. More details are emerging second by second. So you got all of his 7 kids plus one of the kids' cousins that were also inside of that house, man. Man, I've been trying to renew my membership and it's not letting me. I don't know what it is, KCL. What the babies have to do with it? Shaking my head. Yeah, man. Man, what's going on, man? I don't know, but the cousin was there as well. So that's where the 8th child come in at, the cousin. No, it would have been 9. It's crazy.
Of someone they trusted, their own father, Shamar Elkins.
I just don't know what to say. My heart is just taken back. I want to let the community know that all of my resources are out here processing every piece of evidence at every scene, and at some time in the near future, we'll be able to give some more conclusive information about exactly what took place.
Shamar Elkins' wife, Shaniqua, was also shot.
The wife named Shaniqua.
As was another romantic partner at a nearby house. Both those women are in the hospital in critical condition. Meanwhile, the scene got a whole bunch of bystanders and neighbors and community members and those who knew and loved the family to this area. They were all concerned. They were all grieving, wanting answers as to what sparked this. But we can let you know that today was the day that Shamar and Shaniqua Elkins were due in court to talk about their divorce.
That divorce pushed them over the
got
edge.
another baby on the way, and then boom, boom, boom.
Another baby on the way.
So everything boiled down to that.
Hold on.
So other that, and so she found that he got another baby on the way, and then boom, boom.
Oh, okay, there we go. More details emerged. So he had another baby on the way. I'm guessing by the other lady that's in the hospital. Said she found out he had a baby on the way, and then boom, 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 boom. So the wife found out about the other girl and that he was finna have a baby with her. And that's why she was leaving him. They said it was for cheating. Now we getting the circumstances. Let's go.
Boom, that, everything. So everything boiled down to that. So other that, I don't know what went wrong this morning, but I hope she pulled through. So she got shot 8 times. So my 4 drink kid.
Whoa.
I'm 5 drink kid gone.
They said she got hit 8 times, guys. The wife was hit 8 times.
So meanwhile, this community is left mourning, is left grieving, shocked that some despicable tragedy like that could have happened in a house right here, a house that looks just like any other. And in the meantime, the community is going to try to find a way forward. Reporting in Cedar Grove community, I'm Shannon Bernier, KTBS 3 News. Nate, back to you.
Wow, guys.
Appreciate the update there.
Oh, yeah, we got all the info.
Coroner's office saying the 8 children killed.
There go the babies'
3
name.
boys and 5 girls ranging in ages from 3 to...
There go all of the children, guys. Jayla, Shayla, Braylon, Kyla, Kadarian, Layla, Markaden, Sarah, guys. 3, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 10, and 11. Prayers up, guys.
11, they're identified as 3-year-old Jayla Elkins, 5-year-old Shayla Elkins, 6-year-old Kayla Pugh, 6-year-old Kadarian Snow, 7-year-old Layla Pugh, 5-year-old Braylon Snow, 10-year-old Markaden Pugh, and 11-year-old Saria Snow. And welcome back.
She's in critical condition, mother's keeper. The girlfriend is in critical condition. And yes, I'm guessing she was the one that was pregnant. I guess the wife found out about it or whatever, and that's what led to all of this, as far as maybe the divorce and the actual shooting.
Port community and the Bossier community, for that matter, continue to grieve this morning following an awful, tragic domestic violence attack that has claimed the lives of 8 children. We continue our live team coverage this morning with Shannon Brinius, who's in Cedar Grove neighborhood, with more on what that community is saying this morning. Shannon.
Well, and just 2 days ago, a neighbor told us that they spotted Shamar Elkins just sitting on his porch, enjoying the day, his kids playing in the yard, a picture of tranquility. And roughly 24 hours later, that picture would be shattered by the violence that Shamar Elkins reportedly delivered to his family, killing 7 of his own children and a nephew. Their bodies were found in and around this home, as well as also gravely wounding in a shooting 2 women.
So the cousin that was there was a boy, guys. It said also unaliving his nephew, which means the cousins of the kids that was there was a male, guys.
His wife, Shaniqua Elkins, and another romantic partner. They are right now struggling to survive in local hospitals. We get more from Riley Curry.
We have a hurting community. We have hurting families. This is a tragic situation, maybe the worst tragic situation we've ever had in Shreveport.
Around 6 a.m., Shreveport police arrived to a home on the 300th block of West 79th Street near Linwood Ave. Inside and outside the home, 8 young children between the ages of 3 years old to 11 years old were found dead, many with gunshot wounds to the head. 2 victims who were also in the home survived the attack, an adult woman who was shot, and a 13-year-old who now has broken limbs from jumping out of a window. Some Shreveport police officers say they've never seen a crime scene so brutal.
I just don't know what to say. My heart is just taken back. I want to let the community know that all of my resources are out here processing every piece of evidence.
This is a extensive scene, unlike anything I know most of us have ever seen in our career.
The identified shooter is Shamar Elkins. 8 of the kids he murdered were his own. Across Linwood Ave on Harrison Street, Elkins also shot another adult woman in the face. She is now in critical condition and is believed to be the mother of some of the children. A man said to be her father below Mays was at the scene this morning.
I was just with my grandbabies the other day, and we was having so much fun. And I say, for any grandparent out there, be happy. Be happy with your grandkids and have fun with them. I'm just praying that everything will be all right for my daughter. She's in the hospital right now. She's fighting.
After the shootings, Elkins stole a vehicle, fled to Bossier, and was later shot there by Shreveport police.
Man, this is crazy, guys.
And new from overnight, we've learned something that may be or may have been the impetus for this violent rampage. Today was the day that Shamar and Shaniqua Elkins were due in court to discuss their divorce. We don't know for sure if that's what prompted this, but the timing certainly does seem suspect. That will all be part of the investigation. We're going to continue to get new information throughout the day, both here on air and online, and you can go to KTBS Plus for instant updates anytime. Reporting live in the Cedar Grove community, I'm Shannon Brinius, KTBS 3 News. Nate, back to you.
All right, Shannon, appreciate the update there. Several Shreveport City Council members releasing statements following the devastating day. You can read those on our website at ktbs.com. We're also going to hear more during a press conference that's scheduled later this morning at 11 a.m. We'll have live coverage on that on our midday news at 11 o'clock. We'll also be live streaming that on KTBS Plus.
All right, so here in a minute, I'm guessing we're supposed to be getting even more details on this entire situation, guys. That is a very sad situation. So we find out that there was a couple, you know what I'm saying, basically getting ready to have a divorce. The husband, I guess, had infidelities, had a kid on the way by another woman. It's, man, look, y'all, you know what I'm saying? The day before they were supposed to go make their divorce finalized, the husband flip out, unalive the wife Well, shoot the wife in the head. She's currently in critical conditions. Unalive 7 of his kids and their little cousin. One tried to escape out the back door. One of them tried to jump. Well, one of them jumped off a roof and broke their legs, but they were able to get away. Then he stole a car, drove to another place, another house, I guess down the street, and unalived the girlfriend that was pregnant. Well, she's in critical condition as well. Very tragic situation, guys. Very tragic out of Louisiana. You know, very sad. Prayers for all involved, guys. Prayers for all involved. Yeah, that was a crazy one. Okay, let's get to some of the other things that's in my title. Let's get to Kash Patel. Kash Patel has signed a lawsuit against what he quotes is fake news for I guess like analysis that they gave on him that he felt like was not the truth, guys. Let's go over here for a minute. Let's check out old Kash Patel and what he got going on. Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure you guys are double tapping that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or click the 3 dots in the right hand corner. You can also like the video that way by clicking the thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new, guys. Yeah, he has multiple kids with both of the women. Okay. Yeah, man, just sick. He lost his mind. Said the girlfriend owns some of the kids. Wow. Okay. We'll get back to that in a minute. We ought to be still on here when they go live at this press conference. If I can find it, I will most definitely bring it to y'all. We will most definitely go over it whenever they go live with the press conference about the situation in Louisiana.
Things always happen on a Friday. Big stories break on a Friday. And as I just mentioned with Chris, but in case you haven't seen it, there is some breaking news. This absolutely bonkers story that just posted tonight concerning. Well,
this is Kash Patel. They talk about Kash Patel, leader of the FBI.
It's really focused on FBI Director Kash Patel. And it's an explosive news story in The Atlantic that just posted. It cites dozens of FBI sources, which is a big deal. It's a lot of sources in this story detailing new allegations about Patel, including some sources who say Patel is frequently drunk on the job, regularly absent from work, and paranoid about—
Let me find out Kash Patel be drunk at work.
getting fired, and there's quite an anecdote about that.
He is upset about this, calling it fake news,
passages, because I think that will tell you everything you need to know about this story. Here's one. Several officials told The Atlantic that Patel's drinking has been a recurring source of concern across the government. Early in his tenure, meetings and briefings had to be rescheduled for later in the day as a result of his alcohol-fueled nights. 6 current and former officials and others familiar with Patel's schedule told The Atlantic. As a sidebar, not normal. I've worked in 2 administrations. Again, back to the quote. On multiple occasions in the past year, members of his security detail had difficulty waking Patel because he was seemingly intoxicated. This was Chris was just referencing.
Boy, he was so drunk they couldn't wake him up. You know what I'm saying? This is according by Sarah, somebody. I don't know. Trying to figure out where this came. It's from The Atlantic. You know what I'm saying? So basically, Kash Patel feel like they slandering his name, but they say it's real reports, guys.
And that's according to information supplied to Justice Department and White House
officials. Penny.
A request for breaching equipment, normally used by SWAT and hostage rescue teams to quickly gain entry into buildings, was made last year because Patel had been unreachable behind locked doors, according to multiple people familiar with the request. Multiple officials also tell The Atlantic that Patel is deeply concerned that his job is in jeopardy. Well, that's understandable. In one incident earlier this month, Patel struggled to log into an internal computer system. He quickly became convinced that he had been locked out, and he panicked, frantically calling aides and allies to announce that he had been fired by the White House, according to 9 people familiar with his outreach. 9 people. Now, the access problem turned out to, quote, have been a technical error, and it was quickly resolved. And that's according to 2 people familiar with the matter. Now, I should note, MS Now has not independently verified any of this reporting. We've reached out to the FBI.
Y'all feel like do y'all think Kash Patel is the type of person to be drunk at work? Let me know, guys.
FBI for comment. And if we get a response over the next hour, I will surely let you know as soon as we get a response. But I should note the FBI responded to The Atlantic with a graceful and eloquent statement attributed to Patel. And here's what he said. Print it. all false. I'll see you in court. Bring
there you go. I see you in court.
Eloquent. Okay.
All
Joining
false.
me now is the reporter who broke that story.
You most
staff writer
definitely
for the
say you
Atlantic,
don't
Sarah
take them.
Fitzpatrick. First of all, Sarah, I'm so grateful you could be here because we saw this story and we reached out and we were like, can you come talk to us about it? And here you
absolutely.
are. I want to talk to you about all the details of this bombshell report. I just skimmed the story, the service there, I should say. But first, I just want to give you an opportunity to respond to this reaction to your piece, because Patel's advisor, Erica Knight, called your piece fabricated stories. She said that every serious DC reporter passed on. Sarah Fitzpatrick and Jeffrey Goldberg printed it anyway. Lawsuit is being filed. What do you say to that?
I say that I am a very careful, very diligent, award-winning investigative reporter with a history of award-winning work across multiple organizations. You and I, in fact, have worked together previously. I stand by every word of this reporting.
Okay.
We have excellent attorneys.
So this is Sarah. This is who wrote the report. This is who Kash is taking to court, behind her words. She says she is a notable, journalist or whatever. She wore award winning. Yeah, she says she ain't got no reason to lie. She stand behind everything that she wrote, in that report. Let's go.
It is a surprise. It is a surprising statement, but a very telling statement, I believe. And I would also note, we reached out for comment to the White House and to the Justice Department, neither of which disputed anything. We gave multiple opportunities, including 19 detailed questions. So we stand by every word. And look, this is telling, because there are so many people, you alluded to it earlier, these are not the types of people who are willing to speak out outside of the FBI, especially right now, because Kash Patel is going after people with polygraphs in a way that has never happened at the Bureau. So for it to be this level of alarm, this is people genuinely concerned that America is a danger as a result of this conduct. And I feel, a real responsibility to take care of that reporting incredibly carefully. And The Atlantic is nothing but diligent. And we have amazing lawyers and amazing editors, and I stand by every word.
I'm not surprised in any way by their response. I will say, and you, as you said, you note, and I noted 9 sources for the opening anecdote of the story as well. Let's get into some of the details about this, because Patel's excessive drinking seems to be what is alarming a lot of the sources in here. There are multiple anecdotes that refer to that. That's understandable. They're moving meetings. People couldn't wake him. What more have you heard about the extent of his drinking habits and how it seems to be affecting his ability to serve as FBI director?
I think the key point is that this is happening in places in which it is public. There are lots and lots of people around who are seeing it, who are hearing about it, who are learning about it. For example, we have video of Patel chugging a beer to excess on video.
Chugging
We've all seen it.
Say he was chugging the beer.
And I think it speaks to, he was on
college over, Kash.
at that time. There were ongoing
college over, Kash. You know what I'm saying? It's time to be an adult, man. You know what I'm saying? They done caught you chugging beer. Oh man, according to this lady, everything is alleged. I don't need him to be suing me. I really ain't got no money for him. He'll be just practicing if he sue me. But this is what they saying. Say you be so drunk you can't even get up. They be shaking you. You still don't wake up.
In the United States at that time. So it is a very, very clear pattern that has occurred in multiple locations over a long period of time. And it's that pattern which is giving everyone pause. These are not one-off events.
I just read this story, but we have to come back to it, because the excerpt I just read, just to remind people, a request for breaching equipment normally used by SWAT and hostage rescue teams to quickly gain entry into buildings was made last year because Patel had been unreachable behind locked doors, according to multiple people familiar with this request. I find that, I've traveled with 2 presidents. I've worked in the government. I've worked in the State Department. Shocking. Really, people should feel shocked by that. This is not a 22-year-old who's irresponsible, who's on a trip and should be behaving better. This is the FBI director. Can you tell us more just about that scene, or paint it for people who have not yet read your story?
I think the really most important thing here is that most national security officials at this caliber, or even several layers below, those types of people
Kash,
their phones
they say
on their
Kash is a wild boy.
They are so concerned because they need to be reachable immediately, because there are life or death decisions.
Andrew, they say Kash Patel is a wild boy.
There may be threats in which they need to be moved quickly. And so this timing aspect, the ability to reach that person quickly and make sure that they are responsive, I think this is a request that was not made lightly. And I think that the fact that it was made and that it was well known, I think because of that level of concern, really tells you about, the kind of larger picture here. And look, you have the FBI is, you and I both know so many people that have given their lives to this organization. This is a place protecting.
Are still giving their lives, to be clear, still in there.
Yes, and the threats have never been higher. The risks have never been higher. And so you have a group of people that have totally, like, the biggest fear would be that something could happen to this person. And I think they take that responsibility incredibly seriously. But that goes beyond the entire organization. You have an organization that is dependent on this person being available, being cogent, and being able to quickly respond to multiple things all at the same time.
The opening anecdote of the story was incredibly striking for a number of reasons. I mean, because you described this freak out in which Patel was intoxicated. He thinks
Patel had a freak
out of an
FBI. He was not intoxicated.
It just broke some. I'm trying to remember all the details of it. Thank you for correcting me there. But he thought he was locked out of an FBI computer system. He grew incredibly paranoid, thought he was going to be fired. It turned out to be a technical issue. Talk about that level of paranoia, what that tells you, why it was important to kind of lead with that anecdote in the story.
The anecdote was just incredibly telling for a couple of reasons. One is that it set off such a panic within the FBI and within Washington. It set off a panic in Congress. The White House was fielding calls. I mean, there was a real lack of understanding about who was in charge at a given moment, which, as you know, as a former member of government, is an incredibly important who is in charge at a given moment. But I also think it speaks to character and impulsivity and the ability
Lord have mercy.
Be in a stressful situation and think about what
Kash Patel look like the person that'll show up to work drunk. Y'all let me know, man. That's him right there. Old Kash Patel, man. You know what I'm saying? Do he look like the type? Was he drunk right there? I'm just asking. They say he be drunk. That picture though, man, they say he be drunk. That's what they saying. They saying they got video of him chugging Blackberries. Say he drunk. Can't believe anything the news channel say. They're always lying, not taking up for dude, but I can't trust them one bit. All right. I hear you. You know what I'm saying? But they saying Kash Patel be drunk on the job. He's a drunker.
Those next steps are. And I think it is also emblematic of other occasions that we have seen that are very public, in which information has been shared by the FBI director, which was not yet, that went beyond what the investigation was ready to make public at that time, and that later had to be walked back. And in multiple cases that we have seen, all very publicly reported, the fact that this has impacted the investigation, this has impacted their ability to pursue people that were potentially mass shooters or other things of that nature. So I think it was a very telling anecdote, but it's not unusual for those that are familiar with his behavior and his temper.
Erratic is not what you want in that job. They need stability.
Drunk. You know what I'm saying?
Also remember that there's a bit of an irony here, which is that
y'all continue to double tap that screen if you have not. That's how you hit the like button. It most definitely keeps the show in the algorithm, man. Double tap that screen if you have not. If you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, guys. The likes help out the channel. Also subscribe if you're new. As we hear more about Kash Patel, his drunken adventures at the FBI, according to the news, allegedly. I'm just saying.
One of the major purposes within our legal system is that the FBI comes in often when you are in court and comes in and they are providing the information, swearing that it is fact under law. Like there's so much work that goes on into putting a fact into the public record in lawsuit. And so again, the jumping ahead of waiting for verification is just incredibly telling, because every other FBI employee, if they were to make that
say he looked like he had a rough night.
That's what they're taught through their whole careers, is to operate in that manner. Patel's been now in office for 14 months. He clearly almost 14 months trying to hold on to this job. Why do you think he's still there?
It's interesting. I think that he has at times a very close relationship with the president. And the president views the Justice Department as a means to go after his perceived political enemies and punish them either by harassment, expensive legal suits, by firing them from jobs, believing that there are deep state people within the national security and the justice system. So I think that Patel has been very willing to take those requests, those orders that come directly from the president, and use the resources of the FBI to direct them towards those kinds of personal projects of the president. And that's really, really important here, because you only have so many people, you only have so much time, and you have to decide as the FBI director, are you pulling people away from following a terrorist? Are you pulling people away from monitoring people who are abusing children? Are you pulling people away from other crimes that are really, really significant and have massive harm? And I spoke to so many officials who said to me, this is what I worry about at night. I cannot sleep at night because I'm worried that I may have pulled something away from somewhere and I've had to reorganize something, and people may be harmed as a result. And so I think that is the really scary thing that stuck with me throughout this reporting that I would want every American watching to really think about, because we are at a moment of unprecedented threats. That is not an overstatement. We have unprecedented threats, and we have to make sure that our resources are used accordingly.
Sarah Fitzpatrick, this is a really incredible story. Everybody should read it just to understand who's running our government right now. Thank you so much for hustling your way over here.
He said they say slander. Man, this woman said she ain't got no problem with standing on every word that she said. She said that their reports are accurate. Hold on, just in case you missed it. This for you.
Investigative reporter with a history of award-winning work across multiple organizations. You and I, in fact,
hold on.
I say that I
am a
very careful, very diligent, award-winning investigative reporter with a history of award-winning work across multiple organizations. You and I, in fact, have worked together previously. I stand by every word of this reporting. We have excellent attorneys, and it is a surprising statement, but a very telling statement, I believe. And I would also note, we reached out for comment to the White House and to the Justice Department, neither of which disputed anything. We gave multiple opportunities, including 19 detailed questions. So we stand by every word. And look, this is telling, because there are so many people. You alluded.
Basically, she said, we stand by every word, and Kash Patel, we will see you in court. Meaning, hey, she say, hey, they ain't lying, basically saying, hey, Kash Patel, be getting drunk at work. That's what they said. You know what I mean? That's what they said. Don't be mad at me, because that's what they said. They said Kash Patel be drunk at work. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, let's go here. Hold up. Yeah, because he most definitely said he was suing. Kash Patel did. You know what I'm saying? Because they saying he be drunk at work. Ain't my fault. But let's go.
Back, FBI Director Kash Patel on defense this morning, denying allegations laid out.
He denying it. What's up, Libra?
Drinking habits and absences from the Bureau. This article in The Atlantic cites more than 24 people, including unnamed current and former FBI officials, who allege excessive drinking and erratic behavior, described as, quote, freakouts from Patel. Several officials cited say Patel is known.
Yeah, Patel don't have freakouts. He have freakouts. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they say he act like a frat boy still. He be so drunk at work, they can't even shake and wake him up. That's what they said. You know what I'm saying? That's what the news is reporting.
Obvious intoxication at private clubs, both here in Washington and in Las Vegas, and that many staffers are just waiting for the announcement that Patel's going to be fired from his post, citing his unreachability and impulsivity. The Atlantic also wrote that President Trump has complained Patel has seemed unprepared for TV appearances, and that some investigations he directed Patel to pursue haven't moved quickly enough. Patel took to social media to defend himself, writing in part, quote, no amount of BS you write will ever deter this FBI from making America safe again. Yesterday,
let's go, Kash. Kash said none of the BS you write. He said, memo to the fake news. The only time I've ever actually be concerned about the hit piece lies you write about me will be when you stop. Keep talking. It means I'm doing exactly what I should be doing, and no amount of BS you write will ever deter the FBI from making America safe again and taking down the criminals you love. Kash say he talking strongly. Say he ain't no drunk.
On Fox News,
That, plus his plans to sue The Atlantic for defamation. But notably, he also took time in that interview to promise that the DOJ would soon be making arrests related to the 2020 election. Watch.
Every time I see President Trump, he says this repeatedly, that the election was rigged in 2020. I mean, he says it all the time. We all know that. And it's almost getting lost because he says it so much. You've been at the FBI now 14 months. Have you done anything about that? And do you have anything to tell us about that?
Absolutely, Maria. Look, I've been with the president nearly since day one on this. We've got all the evidence. I can announce on your show that we've got all the information we need. We're working with our prosecutors at the Department of Justice and their Attorney General Todd Blanche, and we are going to be making arrests, and it's coming, and I promise you, it's coming soon.
I want to bring in MS senior national security reporter David Rode. David, we're going to
they don't care.
It was
Stop.
so notable that Patel would use that appearance on Maria Bartiromo's show to announce some potential investigations around the 2020 election that Trump lost. But first, I want to focus on this story by our former colleague Sarah Fitzpatrick, where she talked to 24 people for it. And there were a lot of allegations within it. I wonder which stood out to you the most and what you make about the atmosphere that it paints around Kash Patel and the FBI.
First of all, MS now hasn't been able to corroborate or confirm the
Kash the drunk.
Report. But it comes as there's been a series of reporting by our colleagues, Ken Delaney and Carol Lenig, about how he has conducted himself. One pattern has been that when he's criticized in the press, this was according to the FBI Agents Association, that's sort of the union that represents FBI agents. When he's criticized, there's subsequently been firings, and that this has been firings that
working
were
on
specific
anything
firings
except
recently,
he's drinking on.
Let's
go.
FBI agents who were in a counter-espionage unit. This was before the war began with Iran, but those kind of firings, the concerns are from current and former agents that they weaken the country in terms of defending it when it is at war. And so that's one element of his leadership that I think has frustrated folks.
Yeah, I think that's the underlying premise, too, in the Atlantic story, this idea that his behavior allegedly is one thing, but then the impact on the Bureau itself and America's national security is the other, and that's really of paramount importance. But the other piece of this for Patel is how do you end up keeping your job? Because there were large questions looming in the aftermath of Pam Bondi's firing about if Patel was next. And I think when I see him go on Fox News and say, we're going to be making arrests connected to the 2020 election, it does seem like things we've seen other people in his position shore up their position in Trump's eyes. Okay, I'm in a bad place. Let me move on something I know the president cares about.
Yes, and so in terms of the 2020 election, these are old claims by President Trump. His attorney general in 2020, Bill Barr, a deep conservative, disagreed with the president and told the president, you did not win the 2020 election.
I wonder why he always cross-eyed. He might be drunk.
Appointed by President Trump, chosen by President Trump, did not find evidence of any of these crimes that it sounds like Patel says there are going to be arrests regarding. So it's concerning. Many courts have reviewed these claims and dismissed them. So if there are arrests coming, there must. I don't understand what the evidence is. So we just have to see if these arrests actually happen.
I think that's
Madam, do you think Kash be drunk at work, or is they lying on him?
That's the piece of it, David.
He say the Democrats lying on me. They lying on me, baby.
Of us who are watching, whether it's Kash Patel saying arrests are coming around 2020, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard going to the Fulton County Board of Elections, we are watching these embattled Trump officials try to make something out of debunked conspiracy theories. I wonder when you put your national security hat on, as it always is, what you see in those attempts as we head into the November elections, where there is widespread concern about what election security might look like and ensuring that elections stay free and fair.
I'm very concerned. Just last week, Tulsi Gabbard made a criminal referral to the Justice Department regarding the first impeachment of Donald Trump. This would be back in his first term, and it was a criminal referral to the whistleblower who alerted first the intelligence community about the call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. The allegation was that Trump threatened to withhold aid from Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden at the time. This was a call in 2019, and this criminal referral involved the whistleblower themselves, who's remained anonymous, and then the Inspector General of the intelligence community at that time, Michael Atkinson. He found it to be a credible and urgent threat. That's the definition for what needs to go to Congress, and Atkinson sent it to Congress. But now Tulsi Gabbard has referred them for criminal investigation. It's not definite they're going to be charged, but that's just another example of what you're describing.
Yeah, attempts to rewrite history, despite the fact that courts, as you mentioned, in many of these scenarios around 2020, and in the situation that you're mentioning as well, have found that there's no there. And yet we know it remains a priority of the president. MS Now senior national security reporter David Rode, thank you as always.
All right. So that was a little bit more on Kash. Now it wouldn't be right if I ain't let Kash, basically speak for himself. He most definitely has some things to say about, the things that were being said about him. So let's hear from Kash Patel, basically give his rebuttal to him being drunk at work.
Battling call to pay attention to this issue and make sure that our nation's top scientists are safe and secure. This is too coincidental, and so we have to be investigating this. We need to have our nation's top investigators, the FBI, and every agency looking into this matter.
Thank you, lives everywhere.
That was House Oversight Committee member, Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson, this week,
Here
calling
come
a
Kash.
string of 11 missing and dead scientists too coincidental, and a matter of urgent national importance. He is calling for an investigation as the FBI works with the White House and other intelligence agencies to probe whether the fate of these.
Yeah, I need to get into some of this as well. Y'all heard about the 11 scientists that's missing? Have y'all heard about this story yet? Man, it's 11 scientists missing. I think they asked Trump the other day, was he going to look into this? And he said that he would. But yeah, there are 11 U.S. scientists that are missing, guys. It says 11 scientists with ties to the U.S. national security are either missing or deceased. They trying to figure out what's going on with these scientists, guys. Yeah, I might need to take a look at that as well. Madam, it's been popping up across my timeline. I just haven't had time to get into it yet, but we most definitely gonna get into it when it comes to these 11 U.S. scientists that are missing, guys. What happened to them? Where they go? You know what I'm saying? Well, not some of them are deceased and some of them are missing. What happened to the scientists? What happened to them? Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a minute, but let's let Kash speak.
Scientists is linked to their access to classified information about aerospace, defense, and even UFOs, and may involve bad actors from a foreign adversary such as China, Russia, or Iran.
Yeah, I know they've been missing for a minute. But like I said, I just heard in the news the other day where somebody asked Trump about looking into their disappearances and their passings, which brought it all back to the forefront. Nothing new happens with secret projects. Okay, I bet. They trying to find them though.
Joining me now is the director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Let's go, Kash.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to kick it off with this story. What can you tell us about these 11 missing or dead scientists?
It's great to be with you, Maria.
The drunk man himself.
Conversations with the White House and the president. The FBI is going to be spearheading the effort collectively with our partners at the Department of Energy and the Department of War. These missing and killed scientists and former professional members of the Department of Energy vary in wide range. And we're working most importantly with our state and local partners who have the jurisdiction on each of these cases, whether they be a homicide or a missing persons case. They have the evidence. So what we're going to do is collectively pull it all into one place. We started this process last week, and then we're going to look for connections, like you said, on whether there are connections to classified access to classified information and or foreign actors. And then we will produce that information to the White House and the world because it's of such great public importance. And if there's any connections that lead to nefarious conduct or conspiracy, this FBI will make the appropriate arrest.
I mean, you've been working on an investigation of China for many years. I remember years ago you were looking at China's bad behavior and how it constantly undermines the United States. Do you have any evidence so far that this is also linked to a foreign adversary like China?
As of right now, there's not much we can say, but we don't have hard information directly linking any of this
to overseas adversaries.
Okay, but you also recently told us that there was a major cyber attack. I mentioned it to the president just there. China did a cyber attack on the U.S. How significant is the undermining of America by China right now?
Well, just look at our intelligence community's assessment that came out last year, at the end of last year, which specifically stated that the most persistent and active cyber threat we face in the world is from China. That's the entirety of the 17 organizations stood up to protect this nation, made that determination. So the FBI packages its program in response around that. And what China does is three things. They use the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, the MSS, the Ministry of State Security, their spy service, and their private sector to engage in a basically triad of cyber offensive warfare and attacks. And what did the FBI do in response? Last year alone, we focused specifically on actors such as Salt Typhoon and Vault Typhoon. What do? They go out there and they do large-scale espionage collection. And in the second half of it, what they do is they stand up enterprises within our critical infrastructure nodes, water, energy, communications, to do disruptions at a time of inconvenience for the United States of America. This FBI last year arrested over 200 cyber actors.
But they don't trust Kash out there.
More importantly than just the arrest, though, is the complete dismantlement of these enterprises. And we've already had over 50 complete dismantlements focused specifically on actors from China and elsewhere, because they are the most active and persistent threat. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And we launched Operation Winter Shield, which was our 60-day campaign with direct engagement with the private sector, because what the Chinese do is they go into not just government systems, but private sector systems. And just ask the 5 biggest banks what the FBI did for them over a weekend last year, expelled an entire hacker parade on their networks that could have crippled our financial institution. We did that in 1 weekend. And so our ask to the private sector, after our 600 plus engagements in 60 days, is let us in early, call us often. We will show up with our cyber action team, our CAT team, expel these bad actors and dismantle the networks. And then, yes, of course, we'll make more arrests and use the sanctions programs with our Treasury partners to make sure we don't do business with these folks. I identified just 3 in the last couple of months in China that private sector companies that partner with the MSS and PLA. And so that's an extensive operation, but we need our private sector partners' engagements. And that's what Operation Winter Shield was for. It actually had over 2 million impressions in the 60 days we launched it. And the private sector communities have been reaching out in large scale because they saw what we did with the banks and they saw what we did with places like Stryker and elsewhere.
All right, I want to move on, but real quick, I just spoke with the president about this letter that Xi Jinping wrote back to President Trump, and he said he wasn't supplying weapons to Iran. There are reports all over the place that they were, in fact. Should we be alarmed also by the extent to which China has penetrated our academic institutions? They're coming at us at every angle.
You know, they are, and look at what we did. I can just speak to what the FBI did. The FBI last year, specifically arrested multiple individuals at the University of Michigan for bringing in illegal pathogens and try to steal our seed agricultural information. We've also conducted arrests in the Midwest on these Chinese who are implementing these adversarial actions against our academic institutions. It's a whole of government approach with the private sector.
Okay, let me move on because there is this scathing article about you in the Atlantic magazine. The Atlantic magazine director is alleging that you have a drinking problem, that it is getting in the way of your work running the FBI. What is your response this morning to this article?
Look, Maria, you and I have been at this together for a long time, whether I was leading the investigation on Russiagate back in the House or my time in the Trump admin 1 and now. And the results, I say, speak for themselves. If the fake news mafia isn't hitting you personally with baseless information in Washington, D.C., then you're not doing your job. And it's louder than ever because this FBI, under President
Kash in his own words,
backing the blue and backing law enforcement, this FBI has the most prolific year in crime reduction in the United States history. A 20% reduction in the homicide rate, a 20-point drop in opiate overdose deaths. We have found and identified 6,300 child victims, 6,300 kids get to go home to their kids. That's a 30% increase. Seizing enough fentanyl to kill 180 million Americans. That's a 31% increase. Our deal with China, where we stopped the flow of fentanyl precursors, our historic engagement thanks to President Trump in Busan. And our work continues. We've captured 8 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world, to include rapists, murderers, terrorists, and narco traffickers. That's twice as many as Joe Biden did in 4 years. President Trump and this FBI got done in 14 months. So if I'm not doing my job If I'm not working, then how is it that the FBI delivered the safest America under President Trump's leadership in the history of our country? And so, you know what? They can beat their drums and stand next to toxic waste all they want, but that doesn't make it toxic waste. And Maria, I'm happy to announce on your show that we are not going to take this laying down. You want to attack my character? Come at me. Bring it on. I'll see you in court.
So
you want to attack my character? Come on, bring it on. I'll see you in court. Words from the alleged drunk chief of the FBI, guys. I'm just saying, Kash Patel say he taking him to court by slandering his name.
They can beat their drums and stand next to toxic waste all they want, but that doesn't make it toxic waste. And Maria, I'm happy to announce on your show that we are not going to take this laying down. You want to attack my character? Come at me. Bring it on. I'll see you in court.
So you're going to sue
strong words.
Absolutely. It's coming tomorrow.
Tomorrow
he filed, which is today.
Magazine.
Yes, I will, for defamation. And because you know what, Maria? We have to fight back against the fake news. It's one of the many things that President Trump is so successful at in leading out on, because no one is attacked as baselessly as he is and as much as he is. And our leaders that get attacked under his brilliant leadership must do the same. And I won't tolerate their attacks on me, because they are indirect attacks on the men and women of the FBI that we've cleaned up. And this historic, prolific year of crime reduction across the board is something that all Americans should be. And I know they're proud of me because I travel across the country and they say our communities are safer than ever before. Our kids aren't dying of drug overdoses. You're stopping terrorist attacks. Maria, in December, in a 4-week span, this FBI stopped 4 terrorist attacks planned over the holiday season. 4. That's more than Joe Biden did in his 4 years. So we're going to get after the fight. And if the fake news mafia wants to, ring their drum beat as loud as they can, they're never going to stop me from completing the mission that President Trump asked me to do, which is safeguarding America. And we're doing it better than ever before.
Well, let me ask you about the mission, because every time I see President Trump, he says this repeatedly, that the election was rigged in 2020. I mean, he says it all the time. We all know that. And it's almost getting lost because he says it so much. You've been at the FBI now 14 months. Have you done anything about that? And do you have anything to tell us about that?
Absolutely, Maria. Look, I've been with the president nearly since day one on this. As I told you earlier, I was the one that led the effort with folks like Trey Gowdy, Johnny Ratcliffe, and Devin Nunes to expose the corruption that tried to thwart President Trump's first presidential election run. And we saw the FISA abuses there. And I lived through it, and the media came at me then, too. That just shows you that when you're over the target, you keep pummeling the target because the media is going to try and pummel you. We are not going to take this and have not taken this laying down. We did already indict former Director Comey, and that's going through the judicial process. But we also at this FBI, even though we uncovered what we uncovered back in the House Intel days, I had to come in here and find rooms that they hid from the world. I had to come in here and find access on our computer systems in restricted and prohibited case files that they purposely put in places for no one to see and find. We have found all this information. We are working with our Department of Justice partners, and I am never going to let this go, because they not only have personally attacked the presidency of the United States and President Trump, but they tried to thwart our elections and rig the entire system. And that is not something that is going to stop. That is not something I'm going to allow on my watch. But you just have to remember, they built this disease temple over 20 and 30 years. We've got all the evidence. I can announce on your show that we've got all the information we need. We're working with our prosecutors, the Department of Justice, and their Attorney General Todd Blanche, and we are going to be making arrests, and it's coming, and I promise you, it's coming soon.
Well, Kash, hold on, because when you started this interview, you said, Maria, you and I have been working together for a long time, and this is exactly what you were referring to. You were on my show repeatedly talking about the Russia collusion story, and our audience wants to know why there's never any accountability. But specifically, the question that I asked you was about election integrity and whether or not you have any information to verify what President Trump says all the time, which is the election was rigged. That's what I asked you, Kash.
I'm sorry, Maria, I misheard. Yes. So what we are doing is folding that into our entire conspiracy case, and we will let the prosecution speak for him. But we have the information that backs President Trump's claim. But because it's an ongoing prosecution investigation, I can't get ahead of the DOJ and the president. But President Trump speaks truthfully when he says that, and that's what I've been telling you about. When we find terabytes of data on computers from the last 10 years that we were supposed to find 10 years ago, That's what it took. It took his reelection. It took this FBI to go in there and find it. And it takes a long time to get through that material. But I would say stay tuned this week. You might see a thing or two.
Kash Patel, good to talk with you. We will be watching you tomorrow's news when you drop that lawsuit, and we so appreciate you joining me this morning. Thank you, sir.
All right, so we got Kash Patel, leader of the FBI, basically saying, hey, man, all them things they saying about me being drunk at work are not true. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want us to believe any of that that's being said, guys. All right, just like promised, and then we'll get to Trump. They have a live press conference on what happened with the little ones in Shreveport happening right now, guys. Let's get to that, you know, as they begin to speak. If you have not double tapped that screen, most definitely double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots in the right-hand corner, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. Most definitely make sure you're hitting that like button. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. All right, this is the live press conference from Shreveport that they had today, happening right now, to where they spoke on new details and things of that nature that comes along with what happened in Shreveport with Louisiana, with the 7 children being unalive, 8 children being unalive, and 2 females in critical condition.
I'd like to say good morning to everyone. Thank you. We're going to ask that Pastor Jeff Marshall would come. He's the president of the Baptist Ministers Fellowship of Shreveport. We're going to ask him to come and offer a word of prayer. Pastor, come.
Let us pray. Father, which art in heaven, Lord, how we thank you and bless your name. Thank you for this day, the blessings of this day. Father, we come now thanking you for all that you've done and all that you're getting ready to do. Father, we need your protection today. We need your guidance. Father, we ask now that you will lead and guide us now in the way that you would have us to go. Father, as we're able to lead this city. And Lord, we ask now that you would look over this city. Lord, as we try to get through what we've gone through now, I ask that you touch every leader, every city council, every person.
Prayer hands in the chat, guys. Prayer hands in the chat.
We make the right decisions on this day. Lord, we thank you for this city. We love you. And Lord, we'll always be careful to give you the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for coming. Again, I'd like to say good morning to everyone. Yesterday, our community experienced a tragic act of violence that has impacted families, neighbors, that has impacted our entire city. Today, we pause to honor the lives that were lost and families forever changed. Today, we remember Jayla Elkins, age 3, Shayla Elkins, age 5, Kayla Pugh, age 6, Layla Pugh, age 7, Markaden Pugh, age 10, Soraya Snow, age 11, Conundrum Snow, age 6, Braylon Snow, age 5, and to all of their families. So before I go on, will you just pause for a minute for a moment of silence as we honor them? Thank you. We lift up the Elkins family, the Pugh family, the Snow family. We're facing unmitigated losses. We're also mindful of our survivors, including 2 women and a 13-year-old child. We ask that you would keep them in your prayers, and as they continue to recover from their injuries, the uncertain times ahead. Our first priority is to acknowledge the lives affected and to stand with those who are grieving. We recognize the pain felt across our city. We share that sorrow. We want to acknowledge the leadership standing with us today. Mayor Tom Arsenault, Chief Wayne Smith, Sheriff Whitehorn, Marshal Jefferson, Caddo School Superintendent Keith Burden, all of our members of the City Council, Councilman Gary Brooks, Councilman Grayson Boucher, Councilwoman Ursula Bowman, Councilwoman Chair Tabitha Taylor, Councilman Jim Teleferro. This has deeply impacted our families and in our communities. We recognize the grief. We want to pause right now and thank our first responders. In fact, we'd ask that you would pray for them because this is something that would affect them for the rest of their lives. And so we pause and say to them, thank you. Would you be kind enough to give them a great big hand? We join our partners all across the city and the parish. We're grateful for those responders who responded quickly. Again, here we stand with the community. At this time, I want to give some points as to how to cope with situations and giving condolences to all that have been affected. There's an initial shock, which is common. People often feel numb, disbelief right after a tragedy. And being connected to this district for just about 16 years, it is what I would consider a gut-wrenching situation it takes to win out of your sail. Emotions can be overwhelming. Grief, anger, confusion, sadness may come and it may go in waves. Support is very important. We thank all of the agencies that showed up on yesterday and is showing up on today. What do you do when life takes an unexpected turn? When life takes an unexpected turn, the goal isn't to fix everything right away. It is to steady yourself enough to move forward, to become grounded. How do we deal with unexpected tragedies, events? One, you give yourself room to react. You might feel stressed, and it's okay. You might feel angry, but it's okay. Certainly, to have a loss, you will feel the pain, but it's okay. Because today, if we put God first, it will make a difference in our lives. Sometimes it takes time to adjust, but if we trust God, we'll make it. We got to lean on people. We got to lean on resources. At this moment, I might be strong, and the next moment I might be weak. But we got to be able to say to somebody, is it okay if I lean on you? Sometimes we focus on what we cannot control. There'll come a time that we have to put it all in the Lord's hands. Trusting God in the time of crisis. Crisis has ways of shaking everything about us. Our plans, our peace, even our faith. It can come suddenly, bad news, loss, uncertainty, pressures we don't even see coming. The real question, not whether or not crisis will come, but the real question is, how will we respond to the crisis? Take your crisis to God first. Acknowledge who He is. Ask God for specific help. Leave the outcome into the hands of God. Do what you can, but release what you cannot handle. Stop trying to focus on outcome. Rest in God's ability to handle what you cannot. Don't panic, pray. Don't focus on fear, focus on God. Don't hold on, release it and put it into the hands of the Lord, and He will make a difference in your life. As what the Word of God has said, if this earthly house of this tabernacle be dissolved, I believe in my heart that these that died on yesterday are in the presence of the Lord. Are experiencing abuse and violence in your home. Seek the resources. Don't stay where you are. Seek the resources to escape. The biggest lesson that we have is that we must protect those who cannot protect themselves. There are resources available. Take advantage of those resources. We mourn for these children. We mourn for the women who are recovering, we hope. We pray for their recovery and healing. And we ask that the community draw together to give support to these families and these victims.
Good morning. On this morning, Satanya Smiles and I, who's an advocate in the City Grove area, had the opportunity to go and speak with some of the family members of the victims that we lost on yesterday. And the family wanted us to express to you all to allow them to grieve and to go through this process, because this is not a process that is easy for them by any means. They want you to allow the Shreveport Police Department to do their job in this investigation. I also wanted you to know to continue to pray for their families, but also wanted you to understand that 7 of those children belong to Mr. Elkins, who took their lives, and 1 did not. And they wanted to ensure that you all had correct and precise information. This is a difficult process. And at this point, what they are trying to do is to wrap their mind around what has occurred in their family. How do they navigate through this? So if there's anything that you can do for them right now, is to keep them the priority. I'm gonna say it again, keep them the priority and respect their wishes. Respect their wishes as their loved ones go through surgery and they're healing and they're in a dark place because they don't know how to wrap their minds around all of this. Leave the social media chatter alone, thinking that you know everything when you do not. The best thing that you can do for them is to allow them to navigate again through this devastating, traumatic process. And from that point, as we respect their wishes, as they plan for the burial of the children and the grandchildren, I want you to think about the mothers that are the survivors, because there are 3 mothers at this point. 1 is in surgery at this time, that are going to be faced with immense pain, that's going to need all of us, the community long-term counseling, the father that is left here to grieve.
So not on my watch.
And I want you to remember that more than anything, because it's people first. It's not your stories. It's not who posted first. Sure, it's them. It's all about them. And that as a community, as a nation in this country, and for all of the accolades that we have received here, the prayers of support from Canada, from Belgium, that I want you to understand that domestic violence is nobody's joke. It is real. And these are the residual effects of what happens if we're not paying attention. And it is a concerted, collaborative effort for us all to make. And you have to be intentional about that, because we are faced with a devastating tragedy in this city at this point in time. And we don't have all of the answers, but you can rest assured that the work that we started will continue. And we will fight this on behalf of this family. But right now, I am asking all of you to keep them lifted, and pray for them like you've never prayed before. This is what I'm asking of you from them. And as a community, as a city, as a state, as a nation, I know that we can do it. We've done it before, and we'll do it again.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to call the chairman of our public safety, Councilman Grayson Butcher.
Good morning. Thank you, Reverend Green. Thank you, Chairwoman Taylor, Mayor Arsenault.
This happened in Louisiana, like 2 days ago or yesterday. One of the two. This is most definitely recent. It's going right now. This is actually a live press conference that's going on right now.
Foremost,
regarding the situation.
When I woke up yesterday morning to the news of this, I was at a loss of words what to say to the community. Because so many times in our society today, we stop at neighborhood boundaries. We stop at city boundaries. We stop at parish boundaries. Oh, that's not my neighborhood. Why should I care? This impacts our entire community. These children went to school all over the city. Just think of the trickle-down effect for the small kids that were looking forward to seeing their friend come to school today and having to learn that their child had passed away, that their best friend had passed away. That's a hard pill to swallow for a small child. So first and foremost, please pray for this family. Continue to pray for this family. Like Councilwoman Taylor said, this is not clickbait on your Facebook.
It's clickbait, dog. Clickbait.
And the misinformation that's been sent to me today and yesterday, it would astound you. It's more like, I know more than you do about this situation. And what's so unfortunate about it is our police officers from 4 different jurisdictions are working 3 different scenes. There is no way that anyone can have information 100% until these officers finish their investigation. So please, to the citizens of Shreveport, regardless of what neighborhood you live in, from MLK to Southern Trace to Pines Road to Stoner Hill, let the police department do their job. We have great officers, and this misinformation that's floating around is not good. Secondly, I would like to also remind everyone that in the city of Shreveport, we have a true epidemic of domestic violence. And that is something that should be a top priority of the city's administration, the city council, and law enforcement. There are all kinds of avenues that people can reach out to. If you have an issue and you feel unsafe, don't stay in that situation. Sheriff Whitehorn just opened up a domestic violence center. His department is well equipped to handle situations like this. It's staffed well. Please, if you feel like that you are in danger or your family members are in danger, reach out to them. There are also nonprofits like Project Celebration, Family Justice Center. There are plenty of avenues that we can reach out to. If a child feels uncomfortable and you're a teenager and you feel uncomfortable in your environment, go to your school counselor. Mr. Burton has counselors all over the Caddo Parish school system that can assist. This is a tragedy. This is heartbreaking. In my 8 years of being on the city council and my 24 years of being a firefighter, this has to be the worst event that I've seen. Lastly, I want to say, please lift up in prayer the first responders. I can tell you this will live with them forever. It will. They had to leave that scene yesterday and probably go home and hug their babies tight. This is a tragedy, and this will stay with them forever. So please, let's come together as a community. Let's come together as a nation, and let's pray for this family, pray for our city, pray for our state, and pray for our nation. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we would like for our state Senator Sam Jenkins would come, and did I see Tammy Representative Phelps? Was she here? If not. And also, I'm sorry, and along with the state police, we'll have a spokesperson.
Our deepest condolences goes out to the families, to everyone that's involved with this particular incident. I asked my fellow team members to come up with me because in being a first responder, in being a true public servant, we are truly a team, and all of us work together for the good of our community. November 19th, the early mornings of that day will go down in history, be written in the pages of history as one of the worst days that could have ever happened here in Shreveport. About 5:55 a.m. on Sunday morning, Shreveport police received the first call regarding a disturbance at a resident in the 300 block of West 79th Street. The caller stated that they were on top of a house. The suspect was inside and that a male had been shot.
The official details, guys, official details.
Dispatch received an additional call indicating the suspect was a relative of the caller. A minute later, 5:59 a.m., dispatch was advised that approximately 9 individuals resided at the location. The caller further stated that the suspect, identified as Shamar Elkins, had shot everyone inside the home. At 6:00 a.m., 1 minute later, the caller advised that she and her children had fled from the roof and were now in the backyard. 6:01 a.m., officers arrived on the scene. 6:03, officers made contact with the caller at the residence. At 6:05 approximately, officers requested the Shreveport Fire Department to stage at a nearby location close to Linwood. 6:07 a.m., a second call was received regarding a shooting in the 500 block of Harrison Street. The caller stated that her boyfriend had shot her, taken her 3 children, and fled the scene. 6:08 a.m., the victim identified the suspect as Shamar Elkins. At 6:10, dispatch linked the Harrison Street shooting with the shooting on West 79th Street and that they all were related. At 6:15, officers received information that the suspect had carjacked a red Kia Sportage at West 79th, closest to Linwood. At 6:17 a.m., our traffic units out on random patrol encountered or observed that particular vehicle traveling southbound on Interstate 49. The officers advised at 6:18 that they were crossing the Red River Bridge into Bossier City. At 6:20, officers received information that the children taken from the Harrison Street residence may be inside of the fleeing vehicle. 6:23 a.m., officers advised that they were exiting near Swan Lake area. 6:25 a.m. approximately, officers located the injured victims from the Harrison Street shooting. 6:29 a.m., officers made contact with the suspect through an exchange of gunfire. At 6:30 a.m., officers confirmed contact with the suspect in the 400 block of Brompton Lane. 6:40 a.m., officers advised that the suspect vehicle was empty and no children were located inside. 6:43 a.m., officers cleared the resident of West 79th Street where multiple deceased victims were located. 7:03 a.m., Shamar Elkins was pronounced deceased at the scene on Brompton Lane. 7:14 a.m., the Shreveport Police Department contacted the Louisiana State Police Investigation Division, and they began their deployment to the Bossier City address to begin to investigate the officer-involved shooting. This, by far, was probably one of the most challenging incidents that SPD has ever faced. Within the immediate short period after the first call came into SPD, our resources were deployed, and at the same time, we were working 5 different crime scenes. I can't let the SPD officers know how appreciative I am for them for maintaining professionalism throughout this entire event, staying strong, staying poised, doing what they were trained to do. I am so proud of all of them. I am so proud, and I thank all of my community team members, the Caddo Parish Sheriff Department. Immediately I received a call from the Caddo Parish Sheriff Department asking what resource you need, what can we do to help? That's what we do. I immediately received a call from our City Marshal's office, James Jefferson, that said the same thing. We're here, what do we need to do to help? Louisiana State Police, I can't thank all of you gentlemen so much for being there for us. I immediately received call from the director of the FBI, from the director of the ATF, ready to deploy resources to assist in this effort. In the times to come, we will be offering peer assistance, counseling, and whatever is needed to our first responders that responded to that scene yesterday. Our investigators who was in the scene, our crime scene investigators, and the list just goes on and on and on. Throughout an event of this nature, we redeploy resources from anywhere in town to neutralize the threat and make the area safe. And those are the prime time when our team members come in to assist us keeping our city safe in other areas. And I can't thank you guys so much for all that you do. But the investigation has not concluded. There are still bits and pieces coming in to put this bizarre puzzle together. So bear with us in due time, and more information will be coming forth as new information is learned.
Good morning. I also want to thank Councilman Green for pulling this press conference together. Just 10 days ago, we stood as a community to announce the opening of the Caddo Sheriff's Office Domestic Violence Unit. That announcement was a step forward in protecting victims and supporting families and strengthening our response to domestic violence. I don't believe any of us could have imagined that only days later, our community would be shaken by the most heartbreaking tragedies that we have ever witnessed. 8 innocent children losing their lives as a result of domestic violence. There are no words that can fully capture the depth of this loss. No words that can ease the pain of the families who are grieving. No words that can explain the weight of 8 young lives taken far too soon. To the families affected, our hearts are with you, our prayers are with you, and our commitment to you is unwavering. Your children mattered, their lives mattered, and their memory will not be forgotten. But today I must speak to the leaders of this community, to the elected officials, to our faith leaders, service providers, law enforcement, educators, and every person who holds influence in this parish. And I ask you a question that we can no longer avoid. How much are the lives of these victims worth? Because the truth is this: domestic violence is not a private issue. It's not a family issue. It is a community issue. And when we fail to respond in a coordinated, consistent, and compassionate way, people die. This tragedy is a painful reminder that we cannot afford to work in silos. We cannot afford to wait until the next crisis. We cannot afford to treat domestic violence as an afterthought. We must ensure that every victim, every mother, every father, every child has access to safety, support, and intervention before the violence escalates. So today, I'm calling on every leader in this parish to join us in building a fully coordinated, community-wide response to domestic violence. A response where law enforcement, social workers, social services, and the courts communicate in real time. Faith communities stand as safe havens and advocates. Schools recognize warning signs and know where to turn. Hospitals and mental health providers are fully integrated into the system. Offenders are held accountable and monitored. And victims are never left to navigate these dangers alone. This is not the responsibility of one agency. This is not the responsibility of one department. This is the responsibility of all of us. We owe it to the 8 children we lost. We owe it to every victim who is suffering in silence right now. And we owe it to the future of this community. Let their memory be a turning point. Let their lives be the reason we refuse to go back to business as usual. Let this tragedy move us from conversation to coordination, from awareness to action, and from reaction to prevention. Because the lives of these victims, their worth is immeasurable, and our response must reflect that truth. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Green. A lot of times when you are lost for words, the only thing you can rely on is God, and know that God is able. The Shreveport City Marshal extends our deepest condolence to the families, loved ones of the children that have tragically lost their lives in a devastating domestic violence incident. This is heartbreaking. This loss has shaken our entire community. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who are affected during this unimaginable time of grief. No words can fully express the sorrow of these young lives taken too soon. We also lift up the prayers of all law enforcement and fire officials who responded and had to endure such a tragic and on a heartbreaking scene. I encourage anyone that's impacted by this tragedy to seek support. No one should have to endure this pain alone. No, now more than ever, let me say that again, now more than ever, we must stand together. Check on one another. Be present in our children's lives. Speak life over them. Most important, protect them. Cover our families in prayer and in love. The Bible says there's a time, place, and a season for everything. On yesterday, our community witnessed something that we never would have imagined. On a Sunday morning, or where most people get up, getting ready to go to church, not to have something like this to rock our community. We must stand together and fight this fight as one team. When we stand together,
today to wrap arms around this district and around this community. It's a reality in 2026 that school districts must be prepared for active shooters. It's just a reality. Unfortunately, we're never prepared when one of those active shooters is a family member and it happens outside at that child's home. I wanted to let you know that my staff and I have visited both of the schools where those children attended. We have checked on those teachers. We have sent numerous counselors and mentors, and also provided safe places at those schools where a child, as a matter of fact, just this morning, I saw a classmate of one of the kindergartners just walking silently down the hall. And as she walked into that calming room, that counseling, that place of safety, she spoke to no one. She just put her head on the shoulder of one of those counselors and just cried. Also want to tell you the story of the principal that I talked to on the way to school this morning as she was getting ready to speak to all the staff to support the students. And she said, Mr. Burton, one of the things that's important that I want everybody to know is one of those 6-year-olds I just celebrated last week. Matter of fact, he had taken his DIBELS test that was testing his literacy rates. And when he first tested at the beginning of the year, he was well below baseline.
That was from the press conference that happened earlier. It's still taking place right now if you want to go watch it. We got to move on to some other things that are going on. I don't know if y'all heard about Trump basically coming back, doubling down, saying that he will blow up Iran if they don't work out a deal, guys. Yes, he's gonna blow up the whole thing, you know what I'm saying, according to him. According to Trump. And they're still battling over the Strait of Hormuz. Let's go there, guys. Let's get something different going. Let's go over here. Let's check out what Trump and them got going.
It says a Navy destroyer intercepted that sanctioned Iranian cargo ship trying to get through the U.S. blockade in the Gulf of Oman, just east of the Strait of Hormuz. He says that vessel is now in Marine custody with a hole blown in its engine room. Meanwhile, Tehran reportedly is refusing to negotiate with the U.S. in Pakistan. Senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palkot is live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Greg.
John, there are new questions about those planned upcoming talks between the United States and Iran as the U.S. and Iran face off in the Gulf. The U.S. Navy is enforcing a blockade around the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump just recently has said a naval ship intercepted an Iranian vessel that tried to get past the quarantine, refused to stop, forcing the U.S. to target this ship. And for the first time during this operation, U.S. service members went on board. He said in a post in part, our Navy ship stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Right now, U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. That's very crucial. U.S. service members on an Iranian ship. All this comes as talks are planned for Islamabad starting Tuesday between the U.S. and Iran, just ahead of the current ceasefire running out midweek. Now we're hearing from Iran as well, referencing the U.S. naval blockade and the rhetoric coming from the White House, indicating they might not even take part in the talks, or at least they still haven't decided. One state news agency blaming, I'm quoting here, Washington's excessive demands, unrealistic expectations, constant shifts in stance, repeated contradictions, and the ongoing naval blockade, which it considers a breach of the ceasefire. John, we are waiting on a final move from both sides.
Wow.
This is just a last-minute posturing and some skirmishing, or a real breakdown in the diplomatic path. We will see in the coming hours and days. Back to you.
The constant shifts in stance, that's unusual. The White House, it seems, at least from the talking points that have been released on the U.S. side of things, they've been pretty consistent about what they want from Iran.
Very consistent, yes. I mean, key points. And I think we still have to keep going back to the central issue that's at the heart of this, and that's the suspect nuclear program of Iran. The U.S. is demanding that the highly enriched uranium that Iran has be shipped out of the country. The enrichment process ends, and any thought of Iran building a nuclear weapon leaves their minds. Iran, a bit more circumspect on various fronts, saying again today, it is their right to have a nuclear program. There is a big gap between the U.S. and Iran right now. Prospects of a deal, especially with this latest skirmishing on the high seas, looks more and more dim. Back to you.
All right, Greg Palcott, our senior foreign affairs correspondent. Greg, thanks. So there's growing pressure now on Iran on both the diplomatic and military tracks. The White House says its negotiating team, I should say, is preparing to head to Islamabad with the ceasefire deadline fast approaching. President Trump is warning Iran to take the deal or else. Alex Hogan is at the White House with the latest. Alex.
Hi, John. So, yes, we are monitoring these latest developments and what had been a standstill in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, major escalation with President Trump posting on Truth Social that this Iranian cargo ship tried to get past the U.S. naval blockade. And this is, again, part of what he wrote. The U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer USS Spruance intercepted the Tuska, which is that Iranian cargo ship, in the Gulf of Oman and gave them fair
took over
warning
one
to
of their
stop.
ships,
The Iranian
guys.
crew refused to listen, so our Navy ships stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in their engine room. The president went on to say that the U.S. has the ship in custody and they are currently examining what is on board. And it comes after days of back and forth in the Strait. The White House has accused Iran of violating the ceasefire by opening fire on vessels yesterday. And Iran argues that the U.S. is violating the deal with its naval blockade. So more talks are expected to take place. Despite some back and forth this morning, the White House tells Fox that Vice President J.D. Vance will lead the U.S. delegation in Pakistan, and they will have about 1 day to negotiate a new deal before the current temporary ceasefire expires. Vice President J.D. Vance will be joined by envoys like Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and the U.S. team is expected to leave tomorrow. It comes after earlier today, President Trump posted this to Iran on social media saying, "We are offering a very fair and reasonable deal, and I hope that they take it, because if they don't, the United States is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran." That's similar language to some of the comments that we heard from the president last weekend, comments that are already getting criticism from Democrats today who are arguing that this is escalatory and simply unhelpful.
We've lost our entire moral credibility. We have a president of the United States threatening to wipe out Iranian civilization, and people think it's normal. And then you have a situation where our troops are at risk, where a president who campaigned on peace is spending now $400 billion to spend more money on these wars.
Republicans today arguing that these measures and that the language is necessary to put enough pressure on Iran, especially ahead of potential talks that could take place in the coming days. Because again, John, we know that this very delicate ceasefire is only supposed to last until Wednesday. John.
All right, Alex Hogan. Alex, thanks. For more on this, let's bring in Behnam Ben Taleblu, Senior Director of the Iran Program at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, and Elon Berman, American Foreign Policy Council Senior Vice President. Thanks, both of you, for being with us today. Elon, Iran is complaining that the blockade was somehow illegal, and yet Iran also shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That's also illegal. Where do we go from here?
Right. Well, I think the thing that we have to say first and foremost is that the commentary about the blockade that you hear from the administration's critics that it's a desperation play, that it's sort of a 11th hour strategy is totally false. I have, and I'm sure Behnam has as well, been in a lot of meetings with U.S. military planners, and this has been talked about for a long time. In fact, the blockade was always where we were going to end up, because the idea here is to take the tool that Iran thinks is its most potent weapon against the West and to flip the script, to turn it on the Iranian regime. Now, this is very high stakes because we're entering into the negotiations, the second round, which are going to happen despite what the Iranian regime says. But the clock is ticking in a number of ways. It's ticking on the ceasefire, which ends later this week. But it's also ticking in very real terms in terms of the Iranian economy, because with the blockade enforced, Iran is not able to outship its oil. Its stores of oil inside the country are getting full, and pumping is going to stop. And it's over the next couple of weeks, if the blockade continues, it's going to cause irreparable damage to Iran's oil industry. So the Iranians are very much feeling the heat here.
But the president is also feeling some heat, Behnam. After 60 days, he has to get authorization from Congress, right? And if Congress is not in a mood to spend more money, are the Iranians playing sort of rope-a-dope here, trying to stretch things out and hoping that the Congress will not authorize further military action?
Let's go,
I think
Kate.
that Congress is one thing, but the Iranian waiting game or strategy is fundamentally another. I mean, the Islamic Republic isn't timing this based on Congress per se. I don't think it knows the difference between AUMF and the War Powers Resolution, which, by the way, I'm not a lawyer. Good friend.
They charging David, Kate. He's being charged. Live press conference in a minute.
Unconstitutional. More on that later.
Right now, we're talking about Trump threatening to blow up Iran if they don't come to a deal.
On one thing, and that's President Trump's term in office. And they will do anything, lie, cheat, fib, and steal, to make sure that the president, which imposed maximum pressure against it, which took out its top general in term one, and was now not once but twice willing to pull the trigger against this regime's nuclear program and missile and military apparatus in term two, to make sure that that person is not in office. So that is fundamentally the clock that Tehran is racing against. And that's when I think if they think they can, slow roll the president, both, negotiations that collapsed and led to strikes last summer, and negotiations that collapsed and led to strikes just this February, March, will prove the Islamic Republic wrong.
Elon, Democrat Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia was on Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream earlier and was pointing to the Obama administration and saying that the Iranians, when they signed the JCPOA, agreed not to pursue nuclear weapons. And he pointed to that as a reason that this war was unnecessary, essentially. How do you answer that?
So, quite frankly, with all due respect to the senator, I think that's disingenuous framing, because even President Obama himself articulated that the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that his administration birthed and shepherded over the political finish line, was never intended as a permanent solution to Iran's nuclear will to power. It was intended to slow down Iranian processes and create enough time to let the better angels of Iran's nature kick in. But what we saw during the decade that the JCPOA was in force was that exactly the opposite was happening. That Iran may have made incremental slowdown in its nuclear processes, but it was still, in the aggregate, increasing the threat that it posed to the region, the threat that it posed to the United States and to American allies. And it was doing so with a tremendous amount of additional cash, because the JCPOA, let's not forget, created this massive infusion of capital in terms of near-term and medium-term sanctions relief that really allowed the Iranian economy, which was in dire straits on the eve of the JCPOA being signed, really to reassert itself. And it put the regime in a much more stable place where it could fund these programs. It could fund its terror proxies. So I think it's a mistake to equate the illusory stability of the JCPOA period. I think it was anything but.
Let's talk a little bit about the effect of this war on Russia. For the near term, it would seem that Russia is actually doing better because oil prices are up, and we have a graphic that talks about that. But I want to ask both of you, What do you think is on the other side for Russia once this war ends? Becknam, let's start with you first.
Sure. So I would say fundamentally, up until even the blockade came in against the Islamic Republic, just like Russia, benefited from the fact that there was a short-term waiver. I mean, that's fundamentally the way the president got around the oil issue, which hasn't gone that far past $100 a barrel, because there has been significant supply, and that has offset some of the demand. So at most, you had a few brief price spikes. Sure, the Europeans are not happy with that, but I'd love to see the Europeans put their money where their mouth is when it comes to really doubling down against the Russians in Ukraine, so America can do more with less elsewhere, in particular, the Middle East and the Persian Gulf. And fundamentally here, we have to zoom out. If you look at the biggest state threats to America, American interests, and American power in the 21st century, it is Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and the Islamic Republic of Iran is the only non-nuclear member of that axis. So if the Trump administration does meaningful damage to the Islamic Republic of Iran, it actually kicks out the legs from underneath that anti-American authoritarian constellation.
Is there, Elon, the possibility that the Iranian government falls? I mean, after 30,000, maybe 50,000 people were killed in protests against their own government, is there the possibility that a new government can rise there?
Well, look, I think this is really the $64,000 question. And I think we're short of the total, complete regime change that the president talks about in his truths, in his public messaging. But it is very clear that he's correct on one score, because the crop of leaders that he's dealing with, and Vice President Vance and the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are dealing with, are fundamentally different. They have a fundamentally different calculus than the regime did before, even though there is a largely incapacitated supreme leader who's nominally in charge. But the thing that I would point to here, and this is why this is an ongoing conversation, is that the very reason why I did and Becknam did and my colleagues and Becknam's colleagues have been so adamant
they take
about
too
Iran.
long to get to the point. Hold on. They take too long to get to the point. Let's get to the point of what I told y'all about what Trump said. Let's go here.
The Fox News Alert chief foreign correspondent Trey Inks just speaking with President Trump and has the latest from Tel Aviv. Trey, what can you tell us, and what did the president have to say?
Yeah, guys, good morning. I just spoke with President Trump for about 20 minutes, and he told me if Iran does not sign this deal, the whole country is getting blown up. He went on to say that bridges and power plants will be targeted if Iran does not sign this agreement. The president telling me that U.S. Special Envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are heading to Islamabad, Pakistan for meetings on Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday, to try and get this agreement across the finish line. The president telling Fox News this is a very simple deal, but this is the last chance for the Iranians. The president very clear in our conversation that he is not making the same mistake that President Obama made, giving cash to the Iranians and allowing them to continue a nuclear program. The deal on the table is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to ensure that the Iranians do not have this highly enriched uranium that is buried deep underground after Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. And again, the president telling Fox News that the entire country will be blown up. Bridges and power plants will be targeted if the Iranians do not sign this agreement. This is a significant development because we are in this less than 72-hour window.
Trump say he's going to blow up the whole country.
The United States and Iran expires. And the president has given the Iranians an opportunity for an off-ramp, an olive branch. He is extending to the Iranian regime to avoid this region going back into war. And the president said the United States military is prepared. He said the U.S. has massive amounts of ammunition, even better munitions than they had in the opening days of Operation Epic Fury, to use against the Iranian regime, to target a variety of different positions across their country if they are not willing to make this good faith deal. And again, he tells Fox News that his special envoys are headed to the Middle East and they are going to try and get this deal across the finish line. But this is in the hands of the Iranians if they are willing to make a good faith agreement. And if they are not, the president has indicated there will be significant strikes against the Iranian regime in response if this diplomatic effort does not succeed. Guys?
Trey, Trey, in
There
your
you
conversation
go.
with
You
the
say you're gonna
president,
blow at the
it hasn't been
smithereens.
talked much about lately, but there has been focus on Clark Island because of its strategic proximity to 90% of the crude oil goes through there. Did the president raise? I know he's talked to you about bridges and power plants, but what about the oil infrastructure?
Come on.
The president talked about the Strait of Hormuz and these violations of the ceasefire that were conducted by the Iranians yesterday. President Trump telling me about how they're using these small vessels to fire on ships in the Strait of Hormuz, but they're just using small ammunition. And despite the fact that they're not doing much damage, it's an indication that they are violating the ceasefire. And then the question is, well, why are they not doing much damage? And that is because more than 150 Iranian vessels are currently at the bottom of the sea. During Operation Epic Fury, the United States hammered the Iranian Navy, and they had prepared for a possible confrontation with the United States, but not enough, because the U.S. was so successful in these strikes that much of the Navy vessels the Iranians had prepared were not able to be used. And that is the reason that they have to use these smaller vessels to threaten international shipping lanes. And again, this speaks to the success of Operation Epic Fury and just the inability of the Iranian regime to even respond and to violate the ceasefire in this manner. And so that is one of the key pillars of this broader agreement that President Trump is demanding the Iranian regime sign. They are going to keep open the Strait of Hormuz. They are going to release that highly enriched uranium that is buried deep underground in the aftermath of those U.S. strikes last summer. And they're going to stop threatening U.S. forces across the region, the president tells me, or the Iranians are going to pay a heavy price. And that price is going to come at their power plants, their bridges, and the remaining infrastructure belonging to the Iranian regime. The president said right now there is a divide between the hardliners and the more moderates within the Iranian political leadership that remains. Remember, in the opening strikes of Operation Epic Fury, the United States and Israel took out the command structure of the Iranian regime. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, was taken out in an airstrike along with his top advisors. The Iranians were in disarray in these moments after Operation Epic Fury began because they were hit even harder than anyone in the region believed they were going to be hit. And again, this speaks to the inability of the Iranians to not only defend their top leaders, but also defend their military structure. When we think about the threat Iran posed before Operation Epic Fury began, they were basically trying to get a nuclear weapon. They told
Hold up, guys. We got more incoming breaking news, guys. As singer David, guys, is being charged right now with the unaliving of Celeste Revere. It's a press conference going on right now about this entire situation. Let's go here. Hold on, let me find exactly where it said. Hold up. Yeah, breaking news, guys. Breaking news. David charged with murder in the Celeste Revere case, guys. Officially charged. He's no longer just detained. He is now arrested, guys. He is now arrested.
Good morning, everybody. We are going to give you an update on this case here in just a minute. Just to give you an idea of what's going to happen here, we've got the Los Angeles County District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, and the Chief of Police, Jim McDonald, coming up, and they will be speaking to you. I will ask you when we get to any questions. There's only going to be time for just a few brief questions, so this isn't going to be a long Q&A afterwards. I'm going to ask you if you could do one at a time as much as possible so that we can hear the question, process it, and answer it appropriately. District Attorney Nathan Hochman.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. With me up here is Los Angeles Police Department Chief Jim McDonald. Also at this podium on the DA's side are the Assistant District Attorney Maria Ramirez, who oversees our special operations. We have John McKinney, who is our Director of Specialized Prosecutions. The Assistant Head Deputy District Attorney is Habib Balian of the Major Crimes Division. Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman of the Major Crimes Division will be the lead prosecutor on this case. From the Los Angeles Police Department, we also have Captain Scott Williams, who's the commanding officer of LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division. the Chief of Detectives, Alan Hamilton, the Director of Specialized Prosecutions, Mike Rimkunis, and the LAPD detectives on this case, Josh Byers and Corey Farrell. Today, I am announcing the charges against David Anthony Burke, the musician known as David, spelled D4VD, in connection with the brutal and horrific murder of Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time. These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances being lying in wait, committing this crime for financial gain, or murdering a witness in an investigation. These special circumstances carry with it, along with the first-degree murder charge, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. The determination on whether or not the district attorney's office will seek the death penalty will be made at a later time. Before I get into the actual charges, and there are additional charges against Mr. Burke, including continuous sexual acts, lewd and lascivious sexual acts with an individual under 14 years old, and mutilating a human remains of a body. Before I get into the description of these charges and their seriousness, I want to look at this as a parent. I am a parent of 3 children and a parent.
It's about time, guys. It is about time they got this boy, man. He needed all of this. It's about time.
Situation where your daughter goes out one
I felt like he did it the whole time. I know they do too.
As we will show in a court of law, the understanding of these charges is clear. Is my description of these charges is not evidence that we are going to present in court. These charges, in fact, will not be evidence in the court. Evidence will be the witness testimony, the documents, and different types of admissible testimony that we will admit into court in the prosecution, and if it leads to the eventual trial of Mr. Burke, to convince a jury of 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt that each and every one of these charges is true.
Hey, boss babe.
Special allegations and circumstances that have been alleged.
He out of there.
Back to this being a parent's nightmare. On April 23rd, 2025, has been alleged by the complaint, Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house in the Hollywood Hills. She was never heard from again. On September 8th, 2025, as alleged in the complaint, Miss Celeste remains, her dismembered and decomposed remains were found in 2 bags inside of a front trunk of a car registered to Mr. Burke. Thereafter began an investigation. The investigation was to determine who killed, who murdered Celeste months and months before. That investigation was carried out in unison and in partnership between the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division and the District Attorney's Office. At every point in the investigation, through the arrest and the filing of charges, the LAPD and the District Attorney's Office have worked in lockstep. There's been no disagreements amongst these entities in deciding how to proceed with this case, ultimately leading to these charges today. So what you have as well with these charges is that, again, there are 3 sets of charges that have been brought. The first-degree murder with special circumstances, and again, those special circumstances are lying in wait. That Celeste went to Mr. Burke's home on the night of April 23rd, 2025, as alleged in the complaint, at his invitation, and again, was not heard from again. The second is a special circumstance being that this murder was committed for financial gain. As the evidence will show in court, the financial gain was for Mr. Burke to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening on that particular
Wow.
The third charge, in addition to lying in wait and for financial gain, is murdering a witness to an investigation.
Whoa, guys, hold on.
Mr. Burke's home on the night of April 23rd,
Gotta hear that again.
2025, as alleged in the complaint, at his invitation, and again, was not heard from again. The second is a special circumstance being that this murder was committed for financial gain. As the evidence will show in court, the financial gain was for Mr. Burke to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening.
She was probably going to turn him in. Said she was threatening his music career that night.
In addition to lying in wait and for financial gain, is murdering a witness to an investigation. In this particular case, as the evidence will come out in court, the witness to the investigation was Celeste, and the investigation was into the lewd and lascivious sexual acts committed by Mr. Burke that is the subject of count 2 of this complaint. With Celeste.
Actual acts with Celeste, meaning they was doing something.
I had the chance to meet with some of the family members of Celeste, and their grief is uncalculable as to what happened to their daughter. What they have demanded, what we have assured them that the district attorney's office working with LAPD would give them is the proof beyond a reasonable doubt on who killed their daughter.
Hey, Gillian.
How their daughter was killed, when their daughter was killed, and bring that killer to justice. That killer that we have now charged is David Anthony Burke. We will have questions after I speak and Chief McDonald speaks. At this point, I invite Chief McDonald to speak.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you all for being here. I want to begin by expressing my deepest condolences to the parents of Celeste Rivas. No parent or any human being should have to endure what you've gone through. Today, alongside DA Hochman and our partners at the LA County District Attorney's Office, and thanks to the tireless and hard work of our investigators at the LAPD, we're announcing the arrest and prosecution of David Burke for the murder of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. Throughout the 7-month investigation, this department has faced criticism for how we handled the case and for our decision not to provide details. I want to be clear about something. My duty is not to fuel speculation, it's to deliver justice, and that requires patience and discipline on everybody's part. This investigation was driven by a single purpose: to secure justice for Celeste Rivas and for those who loved her.
Absolutely.
We had to be certain that nothing we did or said would ever jeopardize this case. Ms. Rivas was a reported runaway from Riverside County. During the course of our investigation, detectives learned that she had been involved in a sexual relationship with Mr. Burke when she was a minor and he was an adult. On April 23rd, 2025, Ms. Rivas arrived at Mr. Burke's home in the Hollywood Hills. That's the last time she was known to be alive. On September 8th, 2025, Ms. Rivas's dismembered and badly decomposed body was discovered in the front trunk of Mr. Burke's impounded Tesla. From that moment forward, our investigators faced an extraordinary, difficult, and complex case. The condition of her remains delayed the medical examiner's ability to be able to determine cause of death. The substantial amount of time that passed between her death and the discovery meant that crucial evidence had degraded or disappeared. And as detectives worked to uncover the truth, they also had to sift through and debunk a great deal of false information circulating publicly. These challenges were real, and they required patience, precision, and an unwavering commitment to the facts. Despite these obstacles, and despite intense public pressure, our Robbery Homicide Division detectives remained steadfast in their duties. They recovered and analyzed a substantial amount of digital and forensic evidence. They stayed focused, disciplined, and committed to uncovering the truth. Their work in close collaboration with the District Attorney's Office has brought us to this moment today. I want to thank the District Attorney and his team, as always, for their partnership. This case demanded coordination, persistence, and a shared commitment to justice. Also, thank you to our media partners for showing up today and for sharing this important message with the public. And finally, to Ms. Rivas's family, we cannot undo the pain you are feeling. Our hope is that today brings some measure of accountability and a step in the journey toward healing. Please know that the Los Angeles Police Department remains fully committed to seeking justice on behalf of your daughter. Thank you.
So at this point, we'll take questions.
Anything more you can tell us about the fact that she was a witness in the investigation, that she reported the abuse, who was doing that?
The details of the allegations that have made, particularly with that special circumstance, will be produced in court.
Did you determine cause of death and the difficulty it was to determine both the matter of cause of death?
So with respect to the coroner's report, we will be seeking quite quickly to provide an order to the court that now allows the coroner to release that report to the public.
Do you believe that he acted from the BBC between the finding of the body of Celeste's body or her remains? Why has it taken so long for an arresting date?
I think the police chief got it right. That in a situation where you don't have an eyewitness account, or we can't point to a video that shows the killer killing someone,
they don't have eyewitness accounts or video.
You have to go through the very rigorous and thorough investigation to look at all the digital and forensic evidence. You have to speak with witnesses, often who are cooperative and some who are not cooperative, in order to obtain all the information necessary to decide who did what, when, how, and what their mental state was at the time. That is what we've been doing over the last, between September 8th, roughly, and today when we bring these charges on April 20th. So again, it's a type of case that you want to make sure you get maximum information. And by the way, if there's anyone out there that has material information about this particular murder or any other actions taken by Mr. Burke, please come forward to the Los Angeles Police Department, come forward to the LA County DA's office, and report that information.
Mr. Hoffman, there are other people who were aware of this relationship. Is it possible that you will be arresting other people within his circle? And did he act alone in this death?
Again, with respect to whether or not there's any other individuals or we're going to take any other actions, you will know about them if we do, but at this point, I'm not commenting.
Do you believe that you know how she was killed beyond it being homicide? The actual cause of death?
The coroner's report will be released shortly. Because it is not currently
All right,
released, I'm not
the coroner's report is coming out.
Not that, if you won't say what it was, but has it been determined how she was killed beyond it being homicide?
The coroner has made a determination on how Celeste died, and at the point that the coroner's report becomes public, we'll be able to comment.
Was there a specific breakthrough last week? Is there physical evidence that ties David to this murder?
There is physical evidence and there is forensic and digital evidence that we intend to present in court to prove these charges beyond a reasonable doubt.
I think he's in his 20s.
And just to his question, are you able to tell us exactly what the smoking gun is? And also, if you can address the issue of his visit to Santa Barbara and that, how does it connect with the murder?
So with respect to the actual details of the evidence we're going to be presenting in court, I'm not going to do that today. As far as the concept of a smoking gun, the smoking gun is the totality of the evidence that we're going to bring to prove any case, whether it's this case or any case, beyond a reasonable doubt.
She threatened. Well, part of it said she threatened.
Investigation is ongoing. If investigation.
So from what I got already, Gillian, they said part of it she threatened his music career. I guess she was gonna come out and tell on it, but that's what they said. One of the motives could have been an argument or something like they had, and it involved his music career that she was trying to end or threatening to end at that time.
If information comes forward on any with respect to any additional crimes, we will certainly investigate it. Yes.
One more.
Discussion about the difficulty in this case you talked about as well. What makes you confident
What makes us confident is the totality of the evidence that has been obtained by the LAPD robbery homicide, by the work that the district attorney's office has done, that has led us to the point where we believe we can prove each and every one of these three charges and the special circumstances and the special allegation beyond a reasonable doubt.
Thank you, everybody. If you raise your hand if you have Spanish language and you need a Spanish language translation. Okay, keep your hands up. My team will come around to you and we will have something.
Thank you very, very much.
The timeline. You said has she been missing 2024 or 2025?
Sad, guys. Sad. So there you have it. Breaking news when it comes to the David Celeste Rivera's situation, guys. He has been charged with murder, first degree. They found out that something she said or something she was doing to try to hinder his music career, David as a singer, is potentially what led up to this. As far as all of the information is not coming out now, they have certain stipulations to where they can't release certain information, but they did go live, at a press conference and basically say, hey, he has been charged, and they have physical evidence which links him to the crime. I wonder if that song that was put out will be used as evidence. Romantic Homicide, that's the name of the song. He was on tour in Africa when they found her body. Yeah, that's why they kept on moving it around. I still think that his best friend, Luke or whatever his name is, told on him when they questioned him. I just don't get how she was able to be with him, period. But I digress. Well, as far as I know, in the beginning, they saying that the mother had basically put out a missing child report on her daughter. And the other daughter was going around looking for her. So she ran off on her own. They just couldn't find her. And the whole time she was with David, something happened. She threatened his music career and he unalived her. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting, guys. Just saying. All right. So back over here to where we were at with Trump and his threat that he made to Iran to blow the whole place up, if they didn't come to some sort of deal, guys. But that was the latest in breaking in the David case. So he has been charged, guys. He has been charged. Back to Trump, and we out of here.
Negotiators, they had enough highly enriched uranium for 11 nuclear bombs. And this was an indication to President Trump something had to be done to stop this regime from obtaining a nuclear weapon. But remember, you have this threat from the Iranians that also includes
his name is David
and drones. And as part of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump ordered strikes against the production facilities of the Iranian regime, hammering their ballistic missile production centers and the drone centers that were used to target U.S. forces and allies across the Middle East. And now President Trump tells me that bridges and power plants are back on the target list for the United States. And if Iran does not sign this agreement in Islamabad this coming week, the president will order strikes, he tells me, against power plants and bridges inside of Iran. This will be a major escalation. But the president told me, and he is expected, we also learned in that conversation, to release basically a letter today to the Iranians with this tough talk.
Thank you, Dominique.
What is at risk for their regime if they do not make a good faith agreement? The president told me this tough talk is the only thing the Iranians understand. They don't understand the traditional diplomacy and dialogue of the region. They understand firepower, the firepower that belongs to the United States military. And President Trump again told me they have massive amounts of ammunition prepared. If the Iranians are not willing to make that good faith agreement, they are going to hammer the regime, targeting those bridges, power plants, and what is left of the IRGC military infrastructure. Guys?
Trey, you were on our show in an earlier hour before this phone call with the president, and you and I discussed this regime. You say that there's a faction, perhaps a more moderate versus a more radical wing of this regime. We don't know which one is in charge. Maybe you do. Maybe you can let us know. But if the more radical wing is in charge, per our discussion earlier, then that means they're crazy. And that means that this letter and this escalation may not have the results that we want because they don't care. They're just like, fine, let it all go. This is existential. If, we're going to lose, so let's all just die and go to heaven, I guess, or hell. So did you discuss that with the president in terms of the mental state and the outcomes that the mullahs and the radical wing want?
Yes, and I can tell you, having talked to the president multiple times throughout this war and prior to this conflict, the president understands exactly who he's dealing with here. These are not traditional negotiators on the other side of the table. This is not a traditional regime. Even on our call today, President Trump brought up the protesters who were slaughtered in the streets of their country earlier this year. And the president multiple times said he would be there for them. And he targeted, actually, during Operation Epic Fury, many of the besieged force commanders and those responsible for the crackdown against Iranian demonstrators who were peacefully protesting in the streets of their country. But again, I think the fact the president continues to bring this up, he understands two things. He understands the Iranian population, more than 90 million people, and many of them are quietly supporting what President Trump is doing, pressuring a repressive regime that spent 47 years cracking down on their own people. But he also understands the negotiators, and he understands the break in who's actually calling the shots here. And it's a great question because even the Iranians are not clear on who is calling the shots. And while you have this divide between the hardliners and the more moderates, even the Iranians can't agree on their own position. We heard Iran's foreign minister late last week saying the Strait of Hormuz is open, and then IRGC commanders saying it's closed, and then yesterday firing on these vessels trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And again, this speaks to the successful U.S. strikes against the regime and the command structure of the IRGC. But as it relates to who is at the negotiating table now, the takeaways that I had from this 20-minute call with President Trump were quite clear. It doesn't matter to President Trump who is calling the shots in Iran right now. What matters is that they sign this agreement. And the president said if they do not sign the agreement, he is going to target Iranian power plants and bridges. He is going to increase the strikes against the IRGC and go after the core that remains within Iran. Because he told me this is a very simple agreement. It can be done in 10 minutes. They know what is on the table. All they have to do is sign the dotted line. And so far, they've been unwilling to do so. And that is why President Trump told me that on Tuesday, U.S. Special Envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are headed back to the Middle East to try and get this deal across the finish line. And remember what we are looking at here. Now we understand. After this conversation with President Trump, I can tell you very clearly, we are looking at option A or option B. Option A is that the Iranians come to the table on Tuesday and they sign a good faith agreement that never allows them to have a nuclear weapon, that makes sure they give up their enriched uranium and ensures that they open the Strait of Hormuz. Option B is that their power plants and bridges are going to be destroyed by the U.S. military, the strongest military in the world. And so they have a decision to make. And the president was very clear just before we got off the call. He told me Iran has a decision to make. And the decision is either going to be an off-ramp that saves the lives of the leadership and the infrastructure of the country, or the alternative. And the president told me he is prepared for both options. And again, he is sending his negotiating team for one final effort to try and get this deal across the finish line. But the president was very clear. He told me if they do not sign this deal, the whole country is going to get blown up.
Trades, Lucas, great reporting. Vice President Vance led the negotiations last weekend in Islamabad. He is not going on this trip to Islamabad. Why do you think that is?
It's a great point, and I do want to just read something to you right here. As we are talking, the president has now posted on Truth Social about exactly what he told me during that conversation. He says, in part, Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. Many of them were aimed at a French ship and a freighter from the United Kingdom. The president goes on to say, that wasn't nice, was it? My representatives are going to Islamabad, Pakistan, confirming what he told me on the phone earlier. They will be there tomorrow evening for negotiations. Iran recently announced that they were closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. The president goes on to say in his post, they're helping us without knowing. And they are the ones that lose with the closed passage, $500 million a day. Now, it's a very long post on Truth Social, and we'll pull it up here. But the president later says, no more Mr. Nice Guy. They will come down fast. He's talking about the bridges and power plants. And again, that is what I gathered from my conversation with the president, that he is not playing games here. He is not bluffing. he is going to hammer the Iranian regime if they do not sign on the dotted line. The choice is theirs in the days ahead.
Can you respond to? I know the Truth Social came out and we didn't get an answer to the question of why you think J.D. Vance is not included in this negotiation team.
This is wild, guys. So Trump say gonna blow him up.
Is still directly involved in these conversations and consultations. The president just yesterday at the White House held a situational assessment in the Situation Room, gathering top cabinet officials, whether it was the Joint Chiefs Chairman, the Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the Vice President, and others. And we understand that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff was involved as well in that conversation. And so this is a full court press by the Trump administration. A variety of officials are involved at many different levels. The United States is preparing not just on the diplomatic front, but also on the military front. And as the president has made clear on Truth Social and in our call earlier today, he is prepared for a variety of outcomes. But we are looking at two outcomes here, either a diplomatic solution or military action.
Big decision. Trey Inks, great
Trey.
reporting out of Tel Aviv. Thank you, Trey.
Sounds like, by the way, that the whole country should be praying right now.
Yes, we all need prayers, man. This is crazy, guys. As Trump threatens to basically blow up Iran if they don't come to some kind of agreement, guys. They got to come to an agreement. We most definitely went and took over some Iran. We went and took over some of Iran's ship or a ship of Iran's. We talked about it earlier. When Iran vowed swift response after USC's vessel. They act like they ain't born Trump, guys.
Hours, bringing you any updates from big breaking news stories that we have been following, but also showcasing those live events. My name is Carla Hara, and I will do the same. Let's pivot, though, from Pope Leo's visit and his tour across Africa and touch on one of the biggest stories of the day, and that continues to be possibly some peace talks between the U.S. and Iran happening today in Pakistan, though those talks are still up in the air. Bringing us out to a live image that we have at the Strait of Hormuz, this is courtesy of marine traffic. The Associated Press saying this: the U.S. attacked and seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship it said had tried to evade its naval blockade near the Strait of Hormuz on Monday. It was the first interception since the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports began last week. Iran's Joint Military Command vowed to respond, throwing a fragile ceasefire into question days before it expires this Wednesday. Also, Iran on Monday offered a new death toll for the war, with its forensic chief saying at least 3,300 people have been killed in the conflict. Now, the figure came as the head of Iran's legal medicine organization said only 4 of the dead remain identified. President Trump just yesterday saying that U.S. negotiators will be in Pakistan today for another round of talks with Iran, but Iranian officials did not directly respond to his announcement. A 10-day ceasefire in Israel and Lebanon appears to be holding. Those are just some of the major bullet points there happening throughout the Middle East as this conflict continues. Some escalation can be seen. I do, though, want to stay focused here on the latest happenings at the Strait of Hormuz, because as we just mentioned, the U.S. did announce that it seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship that it said had tried to evade its naval blockade near the Strait of Hormuz. Taking us out to a social media post courtesy of Rapid Response, but first, I want one from Reuters as well. It's one of the news outlets that's covering this very closely. They give a bit of a brief overview as to this entire situation that we're following closely. I'm going to bring that in just a second. Here it is. The U.S. military saying it fired on an Iranian-flagged cargo ship as the vessel sailed toward Iran's Bandar
This is not good, guys.
Iran's military said the ship had been traveling from China. A lot to get to this morning, so joining us next to talk about all of these developments is Rocky Weiss.
Tell me about it.
A professor of practice of maritime studies at the Fletcher School at Tufts University. Rocky, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
It's become a kind of a tradition. Every Monday you join us here just to recap everything that's happened over the week. And throughout the weekend, a lot of developments. So let's start with that major one that I just mentioned. So some outlets are reporting that U.S. seizure of the Iranian vessel, it is, quote, a notable escalation. So in your assessment, how big of a deal is this latest development when compared to the other things we've seen there in the Strait?
Yeah. All right. Well, good question. So yeah, it's been a very fluid situation, I would say, over the last 4 days. We saw oil prices really plummet on Friday when the Iranian foreign minister came out and said the strait is open. But then the U.S. maintained its blockade. And then the Iranians came and said, well, then, we're going to continue blocking the strait as well. And what we had here is, so the U.S. has blockaded now. We're entering week 2 of a naval blockade. And a naval blockade is an escalation by itself. It's considered an act of war under international maritime law. And essentially what we're doing here is enforcing the blockade. Most of the ships that have been faced by the U.S. Navy have turned around or avoided actual confrontation. This ship was different. It was coming in. It had been in China and Malaysia, coming in toward Bandar Abbas, which is a major port in the Strait of Hormuz. And for 6 hours, the U.S. kept telling it to stop or turn around. And then in the end, they fired 3 shots from their 5-inch gun and took out its propulsion system. So, and then after that, once it's dead in the water, they boarded a group of Marines. And so now it's under U.S. control. So I do think it would be considered an escalation. And as we heard, the Iranians have said they're actually not coming to the negotiations, even though we're still sending our people. I think the negotiations probably will happen, but as I said,
he said Iran said they're not coming to no negotiations. So what are we going for? He said even though our people are still going, Iran is not agreeing to any kind of negotiations. They're not even coming to the table.
At the very beginning, it's a very fluid situation, so we'll just have to see.
It remains to be seen indeed. Speaking of, I want to showcase President Trump's social media post regarding that seizure of that vessel. So in case you haven't seen it, here it is. I'm going to read it in full. This was a statement from Sunday. He says, quote, today, an Iranian-flagged cargo ship named Tuska, nearly 900 feet long and weighing almost as much as an aircraft carrier, tried to get past our naval blockade, and it did not go well for them. The U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyer USS Spurance intercepted the Tuska in the Gulf of Oman and gave them fair warning to stop. The Iranian crew refused to listen, so our neighbor's ship stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Right now, U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. The Tuska is under U.S. Treasury sanctions because of their prior history of illegal activity. We have full custody of the ship and are seeing what's on board. So it pretty much speaks to what you just surmised there, Rocky, within that last answer. And it brings me to this next question. We're seeing here the U.S. is imposing a naval blockade on Iranian ports, Iran responding sometimes by restricting or attacking shipping in the strait. How does maritime law interpret the legality of these operations from each of these sides?
Yeah, very good. So in some ways, the U.S. attack on that Iranian cargo ship was in response to the Iranians attacking some third-party ships that were attacked in the strait. So the Iranian actions would not be considered legal under international law because there is a right of transit passage for third parties. And the other thing is they didn't announce on the radio turn around or there were no radio communications. So they just went and essentially machine gunned the ships. And so those ships that did turn around, but that's an escalation there. And then the U.S. complied with international law, which is what we do. The U.S. Navy does is that we announced. I mean, for 6 hours of announcement, this was no surprise coming. They also announced, please remove your crew from the engine room. We're about to fire. They gave plenty of warning for that. So the U.S. did comply with the rules of naval warfare, and because the U.S. has announced a blockade, which you can do when you're in conflict with a nation. Essentially, the argument by the international lawyers that would be representing the Trump administration would be, we're in conflict with Iran. We don't want weapons being sent in, and so we're going to pause these ships for inspection or turn them around before they enter the Strait of Hormuz. And because they didn't comply, then we ended up disabling the propulsion of the vessel with some shots into the engine room. And now the Marines are inspecting the ship. That's going to be a little hard because it's a container ship, and they have to unload some of the containers to get to the containers below. It's unclear where they'll do that. But I would say one last point. I think what we're witnessing because I've studied Iran for 30 years, is that the leadership of the IRGC, or I'd say the third string of the leadership at this point, there's a division there. So the Iranian foreign minister came out and said, everything's okay, we're on track, essentially saying we're on track for a negotiated settlement of this dispute. And then I think he was undermined by a rival group within the IRGC that sent those boats to go and shoot the vessels going through the strait, but not even trying really to comply with international law. So I hope that helps.
Speaks to some of the conflicting messaging that we have seen throughout this entire scenario and how it plays out. I have a social media post here also. This is on X, courtesy of the Department of War Rapid Response. It just outlines it here, Rocky. It's quite long, but I do want to read the first point. It says U.S. forces operating in the Arabian Sea enforced naval blockade measures against an Iranian-flagged cargo vessel attempting to sail toward an Iranian port on April 19th. And then it kind of gets into the weeds of how this entire operation was conducted. Rocky, let's talk about what happens in these moments. So how do ship owners and operators, how do they make these real-time decisions in an environment that is not just sometimes inconsistent in terms of the messaging they get, but also pretty hostile?
This is a really tough situation for those commercial shipping companies. So they all do want to leave and get their product out. And they do have the reinsurance to do it. But that being said, just like when you have an insured car, you don't actually want to have to go through the insurance process. It's such a pain, right? So they don't want their ship disabled or sunk, or they don't want their crew hurt. So much of the shipping industry has been taking a wait-and-see approach. I think what really tells us is what happened on Friday. So on Friday, essentially you had a unified message from the Iranian foreign minister plus the Trump administration saying straits open. And we saw a bunch of ships start to go through, including some cruise ships, but also some oil tankers. And then the cruise ships were fast enough, they actually made it through. And then the tankers were attacked, and then they turned around. And so it's a very confused, conflicting situation. So I think what we're going to see for the next couple of days is probably a wait-and-see approach, which we've been seeing now for 50 days in the Strait of Hormuz. So we actually saw.
Yeah, so we done took over one of their vessels, guys, and they ain't like it too much. You know what I'm saying? They didn't like it at all. Hold on, get up this other one. Hold up. All right, let's go here.
A 6-hour standoff. The cargo ship was trying to break past the U.S.'s naval blockade. The ship, called Tauska, reportedly spent much of the last year moving between China and Iran. Hundreds of commercial tankers are now stranded on both sides of the strait after Iran halted traffic in the strait over the weekend, reversing course on its decision to effectively open it on Friday, agreeing with the United States. Tehran now telling shippers they must use new traffic lanes along the Iranian coast. But President Trump told me yesterday on the phone that it was the U.S. who closed the strait because of the blockade. U.S. officials are gearing up for another round of talks in Pakistan tonight. The Iranians, however, still no response on this meeting. The state media is suggesting that Iran might not show up, although AP reported this morning that the meeting is on, and President Trump told me yesterday a deal will be signed tonight. Meanwhile,
Trump says tonight is going to be a deal signed. We'll see.
Powers resolution.
We'll see.
Until one passes or U.S. operations in the region end as the conflict approaches the 60-day mark. February 28th is when it started. Joining me now is California Congressman Ro Khanna. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to see you, Maria.
And I want to get your take on where we are. You introduced a bill to stop U.S. oil exports during the conflict in Iran. Why do you want to stop U.S. oil exports during this conflict?
Maria, it's common sense. Why would we be sending our oil overseas when Americans are getting fleeced at the pump? When gas has gone from $2.30 to $4, we should have our oil supply for Americans, and that would bring down the price. This was a giveaway in 2015 to the big oil companies. Yeah, it's good for them. It's not good for the average consumer.
I don't know if it's a giveaway, really, but the truth is the president told the nation just the other day, and we know this to be true, that the U.S. is producing more oil and gas.
Something happened to their audio. It should be coming back in. And he said,
Under Joe Biden, the Democrats do not want to see drill, baby, drill, right?
The U.S. was producing, as you know, more oil and gas at a record level, even under Joe Biden. The point is, though, why are we exporting it? And Maria, the biggest point is, why have we gotten into a war that has led to the closing of the Strait of Hormuz? The strait was perfectly open 60 days ago. And, you know, I talked, as I know you do, I talked to some of the senior finance guys at Wall Street, JP Morgan, others. They thought that this war would have been over in 3 weeks. This war has gone on 60 days. It's hurting the economy. It's putting our lives at risk. We've got Khamenei Jr. in charge, who's actually more hardline with the IRGC. We have a worse regime in there. What have we achieved?
Are you saying that you do not think it's a good idea to defang Iran from having a nuclear weapon?
Absolutely, we should do that. But this is not achieving that. We now have Khamenei Jr. who actually wants
to do that. So, Congressman, how do you expect to do that?
I'll tell you how
what is your plan? Hold on. What is your plan to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon?
Well, this is not doing it. This is putting Iran closer on the trajectory of a nuclear weapon, because Khamenei Sr., who we assassinated,
that's not true. That's not true. President Obama.
Let me just finish, Maria. Let me just finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
You know, look, Khamenei Jr. is saying he wants to develop it. The more hardline IRGC is in. What we need is the enriched uranium. Even Vice President Vance acknowledges it. That is underground. You can't bomb to get that. You need diplomacy. We should be sitting down with Oman, with other nations. Now that maybe we have leverage, we should be getting a deal. But to be threatening to wipe out Iranian civilization, to be threatening to blockade the Strait of Hormuz and close it, hurting the economy, that's just not rational policy.
Now, President, look, are you saying that you want diplomacy with Iran and you think that they're going to tell you the truth? They just told us months ago that they did not have any long-range missiles, and then they sent a long-range missile to the Diego Garcia Island. So I'm just trying to understand what your plan would be to defang Iran from a nuclear weapon, because right now, as the president has said many times, Iran's Navy is gone, the Air Force is gone, the leadership is gone, and yes, it impacted the economy, and the Iranian people are begging President Trump to finish the job. I mean, we had on Reza Pahlavi, a ton of other Iranian citizens who say, please, President Trump, help us. So exactly what are you saying? You're saying you would rather the president do diplomatic talks, and you think they're going to tell us the truth?
Maria, I'll tell you what the Iranian people are not begging for. They're not begging for Donald Trump to wipe out Iranian civilization. They're not begging for him to blow up every power plant and threaten war crimes. And they don't like the fact that we have actually a more hardline regime in there. They have not created a regime that is respecting human rights or protesters. And the reality is, yes, I don't trust Iran.
Hold on.
Obviously, Reagan had said trust to verify.
You can't sit there and tell me that you are talking about Iran's human rights when the way they treat women and the way they treat citizens are their moral equivalence between the way President Trump treats citizens and the
that's their audio, guys.
Equivalency there?
No, I'm not putting an equivalency. What I'm saying is that we have not created a regime that actually is respecting human rights. We have a regime that is more hardline. There is no democracy emerging. There is no regime that's actually closer to the United States. Actually, you know what we've done is we've increased China's role in the region. Now they want to have oil transactions in the yuan, not in the dollar. And so what we've done is actually lost influence in that region. And we haven't gotten the enriched uranium. I mean, that is the problem.
Well, I think that President Trump is trying to negotiate that. And he told me yesterday directly that he's expecting a deal to be signed tonight in Pakistan. I want to move on to other issues because I know you're doing a lot, Congressman, and we appreciate that. But here's my final question on this issue. Are you suggesting that Obama's leadership on Iran was better? Because under President Obama, there were 14 wire transfers to a, hold on. There were 14 wire transfers to a Swiss account linked to Hezbollah between 2014 and 2016. That was a total of $1.7 billion. The same $1.7 billion he told Congress was frozen Iranian assets. Now, there was a back channel to Tehran through Valerie Jarrett, active for 2012 to 2024. This was after he left office. So, you know, it was almost like a shadow government. He also sent pellets of cash in a plane to Iran. Now, why would you send money to Iran knowing that they are building a nuclear weapon and they are the leading sponsor of terrorism?
Barack Obama
Crazy
was a great
work.
statesman who left America much safer. I wouldn't put Donald Trump in the same paragraph. The reality is when President Obama left, because of the great efforts of people like Valerie Jarrett, we had 97% of the enriched uranium out. The reality is we didn't have 13 American service members dead. The reality is we never had gas go up from $2.30 to $4. The reality is we did not give China more role in the region. Let me finish, Maria. I'll let you finish.
Okay,
we didn't give China more role in the region. We did not give the IRGC a more hardline regime in there. You know why? Because Obama actually did his homework. He actually tried to engage in statesmanship. He got China, Russia, the entire European allies on board with getting Iran on a path to not having a nuclear weapon. All Trump did is listen to Netanyahu. That's his entire foreign policy. And you know what? I resent the fact that Israel is going to tell the United States what to do. The American president should call the shots in this country.
And, well, the American president should call the shots in this country, but you and your colleagues are trying to clip his wings right now with this war powers vote. I agree. The president is in charge. But look, a lot of the things that you just said are just not true, Congressman. I mean, look, we have to look at this realistically. And President Obama sent money to the Iranians. And what did they do? They resumed their building of
That's not true.
enrichment.
That's not true.
Yeah,
Not true.
What's not true? What's not true? What specifically about that sentence is not true?
There was a deal that we reached to get 97% of the enriched uranium out. In the process of that, Iran had certain assets that were Iranian assets. Wasn't our money. That was unfrozen. And that was a deal that China, Russia, France, UK, Canada, the United States all agreed to. And then you had Netanyahu come in and try to torpedo it, and AIPAC tried to torpedo that deal. We were on a path to having a denuclear Iran, but what happened is it wasn't in Netanyahu's interest and AIPAC's interest, and they've dragged us into another war in the Middle East. They've hurt American people, and the American people are tired of it. They want people who are going to be Team America. They want people who are going to bring gas prices down here and care about our nation and get us out of these wars, and that's why Obama won. He was against the Iraq war. That's why he was on a path to normalization in terms of getting Iran to be denuclear, but it had the whole world on our side. And AIPAC, Netanyahu tore that up.
Relax. Congressman, it doesn't change the fact that 10 presidents before President Trump
I'm having
all
trouble
said the
hearing
same
you.
thing.
I think there's some connection issue.
Congressman,
Now I can hear you.
Congressman, it doesn't change the fact that 10 presidents before President Trump all said the same thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They are the leading state sponsor of terrorism. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And one president delivered, and that was Barack Obama.
No, that's not true. Not one
Barack
of them did
Obama is
anything
the only
about
one who delivered.
Congressman, you're talking fantasy.
97%
Obama did
out.
nothing about it. You're talking fantasy. Obama did nothing about it. Other than send money to the Iranians.
Obama got the whole world. He didn't send money to them. That's just factually false. He unfroze Iranian assets, but he had the whole world behind us. How many countries do we have behind us now? Obama had Russia, China, Canada, UK, France, the whole world on board, and they lost 97%.
Now, Congressman, now you lost me. Saying Obama had Russia and China in their corner. I think you know better than most that Russia and China are not in our corner. Congressman, we will continue this discussion, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ro Khanna.
Thank you, Maria.
You got it.
All right, guys. So therefore, we heard what Trump had to say, you know, and how the Democrats feel about what's going on, guys. Yeah, we most definitely covered a lot of topics today. We got the Kash Patel basically being put out there by media as being a drunk, you know, by the Atlantic, put him out there as being a drunk. He was on the defense. He most definitely had some words for them, say taking them to court, and he's suing them for defamation, guys. We also looked at the Celeste Rivera situation, you know, where basically she was unalived by David. David has been properly charged today in a press conference that I showed over here. That was live, guys. You know, if you missed it, make sure you double tap in that screen. If you have not, that's how you hit the like button, or you can click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel. Support the channel by hitting the like button, guys. Subscribing to the channel if you are new. So like I said, we found out about David and Celeste, into where she could have been unalive because she posed a threat to his music career. You know, that's what they said. We found out about the 8 children in Louisiana, guys, unalived by the father, by their father, and one of them was the cousin of the kids. We found out that one of the kids, or some of the kids, tried to escape by going out the back door. We found out that one of the kids escaped by jumping out the window. We also found out that today the wife and the husband were supposed to go to court for their divorce. They never made it because of what the actions that the father took. He also unalived his girlfriend, who could have potentially been pregnant with his baby. See, they were splitting up, the wife and the husband, over infidelities in the relationship, and one of them was one of the other woman was pregnant, you know. So basically he flipped out and unalived his children as well as their cousin, try to take out his wife, and I guess and his girlfriend, guys. So those are the latest updates that I have for y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. Once again, subscribe if you are new. Yeah, man. And at a time like this, I think it's safe to say we most definitely are looking at a change to come. Shout out to anybody that sent the Cash App, anybody that sent the gift. I appreciate you. Shout out to my members, as well as the new subscribers, as the old subscribers, and most definitely shout out to my moderators. And I catch y'all on the next one. We most definitely will be here Wednesday at 9 o'clock, man. Make sure you tap in, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. We in here with the latest and breaking news on everything news. So make sure you turn your notification bell to all so you don't miss nothing whenever I go live. I'll see y'all later. I'm gone.